Vol 2, Chapter 1245, Lost Friendship. Tang Xiao snorted coldly. If you're so interested in this young lady, why not marry her yourself? I'll even reassure Rendili that my stance towards them won't change despite your marriage. How about that? Kunte waved his hands in protest. Oh no, no, no. Who knows what she looks like? What if she's unattractive? Besides, as you've seen, the Rendili galaxy has become like a prison, heavily monitored by the Republic. This girl is nothing but trouble. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Haven't you heard that before? Tang Xiao clapped him on the shoulder. If she's not to my liking, I'll just have to accept it. At worst, I can send her to Umbrella for a complete makeover. My marriage to this girl is more about putting Rendili at ease than anything else, he added with a chuckle. Kunte pushed Tang Xiao's hand away in disgust. You're incorrigible. I can't stand you. Jarno, the wedding planner sitting nearby, watched in disbelief as the governor joked so casually with Kunte. It was as if she had seen a ghost. In her experience, Tang Xiao was always a forceful and short-tempered individual, his fiery nature almost synonymous with his talent. Officials from the Fourth Civilization who interacted with him often feared him. Moreover, as a supreme leader, Tang Xiao was expected to maintain a certain level of dignity and distance. Yet here he was, engaging in crude banter. But as much as Jarno was taken aback, she noticed something else. Perhaps Kunte genuinely found the conversation amusing, but Tang Xiao's demeanor suggested indifference, a lack of seriousness about his fiancée that bordered on dismissive. No, it was more than that. Jarno's keen instincts as a top intelligence officer allowed her to sense the odd dynamics between Tang Xiao and Kunte. It seemed they were both deliberately playing along with each other. Kunte's actions appeared forced, as if he was trying to keep up with Tang Xiao, despite their vastly different statuses. This was evident in the way Quinto trembled in the co-pilot seat and Spud hid in the mechanical cabin, too afraid to emerge. On the other hand, Tang Xiao seemed to be accommodating Kunte's peculiarities, a departure from his usual demeanor. It was as if, without this forced camaraderie, their relationship might have already dissolved. Why were they holding on? Jarno felt she was beginning to understand a hidden side of the governor. Eventually, Kunte decided it was inappropriate to continue using Tang Xiao's fiancée as a topic of conversation. He shifted the subject. Speaking of which, getting married is one thing, but why bring so many medical cabins? Don't tell me you plan to use these to fool people. If you wanted to smuggle something, a shipload of potatoes would have been less suspicious. Tang Xiao responded with a mysterious tone. You'd do well to think of them as medical cabins. Kunte's eyes widened. What do you mean? Are these your secret weapons? What's inside? Viruses? Tang Xiao offered a non-committal hum, gazing out the window. These are for when it's time to flip the table. The situation on Rendili is nearly intractable. It's something I must handle personally. Kunte smiled. And here I thought you brought the stasis chamber for your body just to cause a stir, but it seems you have bigger plans. Are there so many? I guess. Are those all clones of you? Did you make a cluster bomb yourself? Cluster bombs? Ha! Tang Xiao couldn't contain his amusement at Kunte's question. He laughed heartily and clarified, No, I came here with my main body, intending to destroy the entire planet if our plans for Lundili failed. It's not the same as these medical cabins. He gazed out the window, the spaceship having exited hyperspace, with the memories of their time on the planet Rendili still fresh in his mind. The smile on Tang Xiao's face gradually disappeared, replaced by a chilling expression. Indeed, I would rather have Palpatine transform Lundili into the nutrient for Kuat, giving rise to the most stable industrial machine in the galaxy, to turn the entire planet of Lundili into a world of the undead. Kunte turned away, his smile also fading, replaced by a soft sigh. Then, suddenly, they both turned to face each other again, bursting into laughter. They slapped each other's shoulders, bending over in laughter until tears streamed down their faces. Witnessing this scene, Jarno couldn't help but sigh deeply. After the spaceship left hyperspace, it activated its sublight engine and set a course for the planet Rendili. Approaching the planet's orbit, the countless massive space stations floating around the planet became visible. These stations varied in size, with the larger ones spanning tens of thousands of meters, and the smaller ones stretching over hundreds of kilometers. Despite their differences in size, they shared one common feature: all were spherical. These were the space docks of Rendili Star Power. Unlike the Kuat drive yards, which constructed a magnificent industrial star ring around the Kuat planet to directly build thousands of giant warships, Rendili Star Drive adopted a different approach with its scattered spherical dock stations. When inactive, these stations maintained a spherical shape, but once operational, they could unfold into interstellar docks of various shapes and sizes. This design allowed for remarkable flexibility in production. For instance, Rendili could simultaneously start constructing 1,000 warships of completely different specifications and models, a feat Kuat could not match. However, Kuat's ability to mass-produce warships like an assembly line meant that Rendili's production capacity couldn't compare. The fundamental difference between Kuat and Rendili also reflected in the organizational structure of these two industrial giants. The Rendili Star Drive began its ascent over 20,000 years ago, starting from a modest factory. Through mergers and acquisitions, it grew into the colossal Rendili Star Drive we know today, resembling a conglomerate of numerous franchisees and chain stores. Kuat Drive Yards, on the other hand, was established when the Galactic Republic was already stable, adopting a strict organizational structure from the outset. Every expansion was meticulously planned and coordinated, making the entire Kuat Drive Yards operate like a well-oiled machine. Thus, the Ulan family served more as leaders within the Rendili Star Drive, whereas the Kuat family held an emperor-like status over the Kuat Drive Yards. Vol 2, Chapter 1246, The Governor's Wedding, 2. The countless spherical interstellar docks orbiting the planet Lundili present a spectacular sight. However, the closed nature and extinguished lights of these docks cast a shadow of despair and depression over the scene. It's important to remember that during the Sith War thousands of years ago, the planet Rendili was a hub of activity. Each shipyard was bustling with orders, and warships were being constructed continuously, alongside the transport ships that ferried raw materials in an almost endless stream. At that time, aside from the Corellia Engineering Company, which had long been profiting in the civilian and small to medium-sized spaceship market, Rendili Star Power Company was the epitome of industrial might and the leading manufacturer of warships. More than half of the spaceships in the Galactic Republic Army were produced by Lundili. Back then, the Kuat Drive Yards could only manage to pick up scraps in comparison. However, as the war came to an end, the passage of thousands of years saw Lundili fade into the background, losing its status as the galaxy's largest industrial giant to the annals of history. When Kuat Drive Yards began to systematically develop its own warship designers and construct its own warship assembly lines, Rendili Star Power Company was still clinging to the outdated franchise chain model. While Kuat invested hundreds of billions in the research and development of new warships, the shipyard owners and executives in Lundili squandered tens of millions on their own lavish lifestyles. This environment at Kuat Drive Yards nurtured incredibly talented warship designers like Willix Blissex and his daughter, whereas Rendili Star Power Company produced nothing more notable than Gary Ulan, a young master known for his extravagant suits costing millions. Now, with the outbreak of a new war, the contrast between Kuat and Rendili has subtly shifted. Although it might seem that the Chira-class assault landing ships and the Hunter-class battlecruisers, designed by Willix Blissex, have swiftly outclassed Lundili, the reality is that this shift is the result of long-term strengths and weaknesses accumulating over time. Yet, Lundili remains lost in its past glories. In theory, it could take many lifetimes to deplete a foundation built over more than 25,000 years, even with a strategy of resting on one's laurels. However, it's this very legacy that has kept Rendili arrogantly detached in the volatile political climate at the end of the Republic. While Kuat Drive Yards was actively engaging in operations, Lundili stood by, scoffing at their attempts to ingratiate themselves with minor planetary councilors. It's fair to say, then, that Rendili Star Power Company's downfall was well-deserved. With a flick of his wrist, Tang Xiao dialed the communicator to the public channel. The channel, which should have been bustling on such a massive industrial planet, was eerily silent, with hardly anyone speaking or communicating. Under the strict oversight of the Galactic Republic, everyone on Lundali was walking on eggshells, fearful of drawing unwanted attention with careless words. A sneer formed on Tang Xiao's lips. Bangira Ulan swore he could control the situation, but in reality, he's just another pawn in Palpatine's game. The only difference between him and his ineffectual son, Gary Ulan, is that he realizes too late who's responsible for his downfall, all the while lamenting the rising temperature of the water around him. To be honest, I have no interest in this so-called noble family, except to watch them fall, Kunte said, casually propping his legs on the driver's platform and resting his hands behind his head. So, my visit this time is primarily to enjoy the spectacle. I think you'll get your wish, Tang Xiao replied, his tone laced with anticipation for the impending downfall of a once great dynasty. Tang Xiao chuckled. I came here to strip away their veneer of grandeur and expose their corruption. If they aren't taught a lesson, they'll never learn. Kunte turned his head, shaking his finger in disapproval. Their Gazanti-class transport ship, under the guise of a medical technology industrial company, was intercepted by the Lundili Planet Defense Fleet upon entering the outer orbit of Lundili. This formidable fleet comprised hundreds of Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers, over a dozen Victory-class star destroyers, and a vast array of smaller and medium-sized warships, including Hammerhead-class frigates. Excluding the Titan battleships, the defensive strength of this fleet could rival the entire navy of the Fourth Civilization. This doesn't even account for the numerous other fleets on Lundili and those guarding the major mining areas. The planet's 25,000-year history was evident in its defenses. Tang Xiao and his team arrived in complete secrecy, uncertain of who on Lundili might have allied with Palpatine, who was content with the status quo, and who sought to join the Separatists to change their circumstances. Kuntik cleverly used the old Hulan Republic patrol codes, and with the added access code, the Rendili Defense Fleet showed little interest in their unassuming medical ship, allowing them to proceed without delay. The spacecraft made its way to a secluded manor in the northern hemisphere of Lundili, situated over 20,000 kilometers from the capital in the southern hemisphere. Beneath the manor lay a hidden yet highly functional underground base with a hangar platform. Lundili, a fully urbanized planet with a population of 600 billion, resembled Coruscant, the Galactic Republic's capital. Like Coruscant, Lundili was expanding underground, though not to the same extent. Despite the decline of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company, life on the planet thrived. The skies were filled with hovering vehicles and spaceships, their lights merging into continuous streams. To protect this densely populated and industrially advanced planet, an incredibly powerful orbital defense system and an impenetrable planetary shield had been established. Breaching Lundili's defenses would require a siege by thousands of capital ships, a feat Tang Xiao knew was impossible through force alone. This was precisely why he had to personally oversee this mission. The situation on Lundili could not be resolved by military means alone. As Tang Xiao disembarked from the spaceship, he observed the suspended trucks carefully transporting medical cabins into the base. Among these cabins was a distinctive one, Drapa's stasis chamber, which had imprisoned Kane's Moore and Celeste Morn for 4,000 years. Now, it contained the body of Darth Massane. A sinister smile played on Tang Xiao's lips. Your Excellency, Governor, we are deeply grateful for your presence, Gary Ulan said as he hurried over with his entourage. He added apologetically, My daughter, Adele Ulan, would have been here to welcome you, but she's been unwell these days. However, she awaits in the manor's reception hall. Would you? I'm quite busy and have little interest in pleasantries, Tang Xiao interrupted, waving his hand dismissively as he walked away. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website, Vol 2, Chapter 1247, The Governor's Wedding. Tang Xiao had no interest in wasting time with a fiancée who was reluctant to see him, nor did he wish to engage with a man in his 50s who lacked intelligence. He directly requested to meet with Bangira, believing that among those present, only Bangira possessed a somewhat higher level of intellect. Gary Ulan's expression turned awkward as he said, "My father is in the living room of the manor." With a calm demeanor, Tang Xiao responded, "Lead the way." For Gary Ulan, this moment was filled with humiliation. Never in his life had he imagined leading the way for someone else, performing what he considered a demeaning task. However, reason overcame his sense of humiliation, and with a lowered head, he led Tang Xiao through the elevator to a sprawling, luxurious manor. The manor, set amidst a landscape of singing birds and fragrant flowers, covered hundreds of thousands of square meters and featured exquisite artificial gardens. It was a veritable paradise on the heavily urbanized and industrialized planet of Lundili, where such expanses of greenery symbolized high status and identity. The Ulan family, leaders of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, wielded control over most aspects of life on Lundili, despite not holding any official ruling position. Their influence was such that they disdained the need for nominal titles. Upon entering the main hall of the manor, Tang Xiao and his companion, Kunte, were greeted by the sight of a tall, beautiful girl with a silver crown, dressed in white, her long brown hair cascading down like a waterfall. She resembled a tulip on the verge of blooming, stunning yet tinged with sadness. Kunte whistled softly and nudged Tang Xiao as the girl, Adele Ulan, greeted them with a meticulous, noble salute. "I have been awaiting your arrival, Mr. Tang Xiao," she said softly, her voice betraying her nervousness. Tang Xiao couldn't help but notice her beauty, despite his initial, superficial observation about her figure. More importantly, he saw the tear stains and redness around her eyes, indicating she had recently cried. "Adele Ulan, you need not be nervous. You are not responsible for the affairs of Lundili," Tang Xiao reassured her, intending to move past her to speak with Benjila Ulan. However, Adele bit her lip tightly and revealed, "Grandpa and father have just named me the primary heir of the Ulan family, so the family's future is naturally my responsibility." Her unhappiness and sadness were evident, yet she bravely accepted a burden she felt unprepared to bear. Tang Xiao glanced at Gary Ulan, understanding now the reason for his dejected appearance. It seemed Benjila Ulan had made his decision, recognizing that entrusting the family's future to Gary, with his limited intellect, would likely lead to disaster. Choosing Adele as his successor was a significant, albeit heavy, decision. Ignoring Adele for the moment, Tang Xiao took a seat next to Bangira and asked bluntly, "What is the current situation on Lundili? Who is in charge of the planetary defense fleet now?" He looked at Adele Ulan, who was still standing at the door, seemingly unsure of how to proceed, and then rephrased his question. "Perhaps I should ask differently. What actions have you taken recently that might have provoked the Galactic Republic?" "I never imagined the extent of the Galactic Republic's infiltration into our company. To think that for the past year, my life was constantly in Palpatine's hands. The only reason I'm still alive is probably that he sees some value in keeping me around." Bangira Ulan's voice was raspy with emotion. He didn't even pause to question the origins of Kunte, who had nonchalantly entered, found a seat, and began sampling the exotic fruits laid out on the table. Instead, Bangira Ulan dove straight into sharing these highly confidential matters. It was clear he was attempting to demonstrate his trust in Tang Xiao through such openness. This approach, along with the creation of a candid atmosphere, was a negotiation tactic. For someone like Bangira Ulan, who led the colossal entity that is Lundili, this showed his caliber. However, he was a man out of time. In this era of upheaval, he was too old, and his adversary, Heave Palpatine, was too formidable and sly. A year ago, my subordinates hired a bounty hunter. She was thorough, efficient, and had a flawless track record, so I gradually began entrusting her with direct assignments. My offers were generous, and after vetting her background, I learned she was an orphan from Hutt space, honing her skills amidst the chaos of the Nishada satellite. I believed I had made the right choice. To someone like her, what mattered most was a steady income and a sense of belonging, both of which I provided. In return, she successfully completed every mission assigned to her. In a mega-corporation like Rendili, there are matters that simply cannot be settled through legal means. Eventually, I tasked her with a critical mission, to assassinate several commanders within the planetary defense fleet. Bangira Ulan's face contorted with disgust, My strategy was to incite a rebellion, seize the opportunity to eliminate potential defectors to the Republic, and replace them with my loyalists. This would allow me to exert greater influence over the defense fleet. However, a month ago, my plan was set into motion. A collaborator leaked our company's battleship designs and hijacked a spacecraft to breach the defense perimeter. The defense fleet dispatched forces to intercept him, and it was during this operation that a mutiny erupted within the fleet. Some sought to aid the defectors' escape, enabling me to accuse them of colluding with the Galactic Republic to steal our company's intellectual property and justify an internal investigation of the fleet. Bangira Ulan's eyes gleamed with a vengeful light. Up to that point, everything proceeded smoothly. Chaos ensued, and many perished in the turmoil. But the casualties were all my allies, the bounty hunter. She betrayed me. No, she had been Palpatine's spy from the very beginning. Please remember the original domain of this book. Vol 2, Chapter 1248, The Governor's Wedding 4. Tang Xiao's brow furrowed as he listened. So, you're saying that because you hired a bounty hunter to eliminate some commanders of the defense fleet, she concluded you might be planning a rebellion. Consequently, she took control of your forces, and yet you still managed to send the news to the Galactic Republic? It's more complicated than that, Bangira Ulan replied, his voice laced with frustration. He slammed his fist onto the table, the impact echoing in the room. I've been conducting surveys on over 3,200 shipyard owners affiliated with our Lundili group since last year, trying to gauge their potential allegiances. Unfortunately, part of that survey was compromised by her. I now suspect that all the information she provided was falsified, leading me to make erroneous judgments. To make matters worse, I've noticed a shift in the mindset of many of my close associates. He continued, his tone growing more despondent. The ideal moment for our move was right after the Republic's arms procurement meeting earlier this year. At that time, we had several new warships, including the Victory II class Star Destroyer, ready. A surprise move then would have been impactful. But now, the opportunity has slipped away. The contract for the Victory II Star Destroyer was rejected, and it feels like half of the Parliament is mocking us, waiting for our downfall. Tang Xiao scoffed. So, launching a rebellion now would be expected by many. It's either rebel or face certain doom, right? Bangira Ulan took a deep breath, leaned back in his chair, and said warily, Lundili has a history spanning 25,000 years, most of which has been intertwined with the Galactic Republic. Severing those ties is not as straightforward as one might think. The situation is far more challenging than I anticipated. After the rejection of the Victory II, our company, though not publicly listed, has felt the market's backlash. A significant number of investors have pulled out, shipyard owners have withdrawn their support, and we've seen a mass exodus of staff from the grassroots to middle management. The financial toll from these losses alone has reached hundreds of billions of credits. In the eyes of the public, Lundili is akin to a teetering edifice, unworthy of support. Tang Xiao lifted his wine glass, took a sip, and remarked, Your analogy is apt, a building on the brink of collapse. When a structure is about to fall, even those who wish to support it are powerless. How can you expect any assistance? Bangira Ulan's eyes snapped open, his gaze piercing as he looked at Tang Xiao. That's why I've made the ultimate gamble. I've appointed Adele Ulan, the first heir of the Ulan family, as the new CEO of Lundili Interstellar Power Company. The fate of Lundili now rests in her hands. His voice was filled with a mix of excitement and desperation, his body trembling with emotion. This is my final stand. I refuse to watch the Ulan family's legacy be completely devoured by Palpatine. Even if everyone else turns to Palpatine, I, Bangira Ulan, will fight to the very end. At that moment, Adele Ulan approached Tang Xiao and performed a noble curtsy. Bangira Ulan stood, walked over, and grasped Tang Xiao's hand firmly, his expression grave. Take Lundili out of the Galactic Republic's clutches. If you succeed, not only will Adele be yours, but Lundili as well. But if you fail, the entire Ulan family will face ruin alongside you. Lundili Interstellar Power Company. Adele Ulan couldn't hold back her emotions any longer, and tears began to well up in her eyes. She tried her best to cover her mouth to stifle her sobs, but her tears had already soaked the front of her clothes. Gary Ulan approached and gently wrapped his arms around his daughter's slender shoulders, offering comfort without uttering a single word. In the opulent room that Lindili had arranged for himself within the manor, Tang Xiao sat on the sofa, lost in thought. Across from him sat Kun Te, while the wedding director, Jarno, stood silently behind Tang Xiao. After a prolonged silence, Kun Te finally spoke up. To be honest, Adele is truly beautiful, and she's only going to become more stunning as she matures. If I'm not mistaken, this beautiful girl is already among the top 10 wealthiest individuals in the Milky Way. His comment went unnoticed. Kun Te continued, however, marrying her won't be easy. The Rendili Interstellar Power Company is barely surviving without military contracts, relying on sporadic orders. And with a population of over 600 billion on their planet, how many are closely tied to the Galactic Republic? How many have invested in the Republic, or even have relatives there? Jarno added, even within the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, Bangira Ulan has completely lost control. It's not that people refuse to listen to him, but if he were to suggest leaving the Galactic Republic, the entire company would disintegrate instantly. Her expression grave, she continued, no wonder the Ulan family is desperate. For the smaller families and shipyard owners, finding new employment is a simple matter. But for the Ulan family, this situation is catastrophic. They're in a predicament with no allies. That's what they deserve, Kun Te remarked casually. If you ask me, old Tang, why don't we just take Adele Ulan and leave? Lindili is beyond saving. Jarno gave Kun Te a knowing look, understanding that he was actually suggesting Tang Xiao should withdraw. Kun Te knew that as long as Tang Xiao remained, the situation would inevitably lead to countless deaths, a prospect he found unbearable. But Jarno knew this was not an option. She looked at Tang Xiao, already anticipating his response. Indeed, Tang Xiao shook his head. It's not feasible. Simply taking Adele away would solve nothing. Her titles of heir and executive officer are meaningless, and Lindili would still fall to the Galactic Republic. Besides, if I merely wanted a beautiful woman, Alia Yinsabella would suffice. What I seek is Lindili itself. He patted Kun Te on the shoulder. The Galactic Republic has only tapped into a fraction of its true war potential. It may seem weak now because it hasn't fully mobilized for war. The economy is still in a peacetime mode, despite increased military spending. Our opportunity lies in the fact that the Republic has yet to see us as a true threat, thanks to Sidious and Earl Dooku's machinations. But once they do... Kun Te laughed, cutting him off. I get it. You've thought this through far more than I have, Mr. Governor. He grabbed a bottle of expensive wine, took a long swig directly from it, and then slammed it down with a belch. You've convinced me once again, my friend. I'm off to bed. As he reached the door, his previously jovial demeanor faded, and he muttered to himself in a tone filled with loneliness. One last time. Buddy. After Kun Te's departure, Tang Xiao picked up the bottle of wine and finished it in one gulp. Please remember the first domain name of this book. It seems like there was an error in your request, as no specific text or chapter details were provided for the cleanup and enhancement of a Harry Potter fanfiction novel. Could you please provide the text or specific details you'd like to have improved? This will help me assist you better. Vol 2, Chapter 1249. Flip the Table. After his drink, Tang Xiao didn't linger in conversation. With a simple wave of his hand, he dismissed Jarno and then sprawled across the expansive, plush bed, quickly succumbing to a deep slumber. As dawn broke, the first order of business upon waking was to summon Jarno and Kunter. Yo, old Tang, did you call us this early because you found a solution? Kunter greeted with a casual wave, his demeanor light, as if the weight of their predicament hadn't touched him. In truth, I've been at a loss regarding Lindili's predicament, Tang Xiao admitted with a calm that belied the gravity of his words. The 25,000-year alliance with the Galactic Republic isn't something I can dismantle single-handedly. Jarno's brow furrowed in concern. So, Your Excellency, are you suggesting we? She mimicked the action of flipping a table, her expression a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Are you truly considering a radical move to bring Lindili to ruin? Kunter's face tensed, and he turned to face Tang Xiao fully, his question laced with a mix of apprehension and disbelief. He knew Tang Xiao well enough to understand that if he had broached the subject, He had a plan. The conventional approach offers no solution. Our only option is to flip the table, Tang Xiao stated, his voice steady. Lundali faces three insurmountable issues. First, distinguishing between those who support the Republic and those who favor separatism. Second, the loss of control over the planetary defense fleet. And third, the deep-seated ties between Lundili, the corporation, and the Galactic Republic, which discourages most from supporting secession. Kunter shook his head, despair evident in his gesture. These problems seem insurmountable. That's precisely why conventional methods are futile, Tang Xiao countered, raising two fingers. However, unconventional tactics might just address the first two issues. The third will require time to resolve. Kunter, intrigued, leaned in. What do you propose? Do you have some form of magic at your disposal? A dark smirk played across Tang Xiao's lips. Bangira Ulan admitted his inability to discern the separatists due to misinformation from a bounty hunter. Moreover, the shifting political landscape has altered people's allegiances. Indeed, human loyalty is fickle. Some who once vocally opposed the Galactic Republic might now stand with it, Jarno added, nodding in agreement. True, discerning the true separatists from Bangira Ulan's perspective is challenging, but Tang Xiao's smile took on a mischievous edge. Identifying the staunch Republic supporters is far simpler. Jarno's eyes widened in realization. Of course, the Republic's infiltrators, including that formidable bounty hunter, would naturally target the separatists. Those who initially sided with the Republic wouldn't be their concern, making their positions glaringly obvious. Tang Xiao's grin grew more sinister. What if these individuals suddenly became separatists overnight? Kunter gasped, disbelief etched on his face. Are you suggesting we brainwash them with force? In a manner of speaking, yes and no, Tang Xiao clarified. You're familiar with the legends surrounding the elite pilots of Planet Dawn, aren't you? Kunter furrowed his brow in thought, but Jarno reacted with shock. Sir, are you referring to the legend of the Hell's Messengers? It's said that Dawn's ace pilots, despite suffering severe injuries in battle, seldom die. They've been dubbed Hellbringers because they've repeatedly cheated death, returning stronger each time. Tang Xiao chuckled, a sound that held a hint of dark amusement. Exactly. They are indeed messengers from Hell. What's not widely known is that they've died numerous times, only to be reborn in new bodies through the rebirth plan. Indeed, the plan you've mentioned is quite serious, Kunte said, his expression turning grave. Exactly. The essence of the so-called rebirth plan is to create a backup of both the memory and body of these elite pilots. In the event of their death in battle, this backup can be reactivated, essentially resurrecting them, Tang Xiao explained. Kunte gasped in disbelief. Wait a moment. Does this mean you can apply this technology not only to yourself, but also to others, and even mass-produce it? When did Dawn Star acquire such formidable technology? Tang Xiao raised a finger and gently shook it, correcting him. Actually, you've got it reversed. The technology's application on ordinary individuals was achieved quite early on. On the other hand, it's only recently that I've managed to apply it to myself, because the force talent within me is particularly challenging to transfer. But now, as my strength grows, so does the sophistication of the rebirth plan's technology. With my direct involvement, there's much more I can accomplish. Like manipulating a person's memory and consciousness? Jarno interjected, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. Could it be that the medical cabins you've brought are part of this rebirth plan? Kunte asked, a sense of relief in his voice, perhaps finding this outcome preferable to a more violent alternative. That's correct, Tang Xiao confirmed with a nod. However, if you want to seamlessly integrate the modified memory and consciousness, the most effective method is to change the person's body. This is because a person's memory and consciousness aren't as simple as a notepad that can be easily erased and rewritten. We can't precisely identify which part of the brain holds specific memories. Therefore, changing the body is the best approach, and I will personally oversee the replacement of their memories. So the clones you've brought are, Murray inquired. Indeed, they are clones of relatively high-ranking shipyard owners and some senior executives of the Lundali Interstellar Power Company. These individuals are confirmed to be loyal to the Galactic Republic, Tang Xiao revealed. Jarno had an epiphany. I understand now. Some time ago, the Military Intelligence Department collaborated with the Solari Special Service Force and Gabriel Tosh, the Ghost, to execute that covert operation. Was it to collect DNA from these individuals for cloning? Tang Xiao smiled slightly. I must commend your Military Intelligence Department for uncovering a significant amount of internal information about Lundili, which has made my plan feasible. You knew from the start that the situation with Rendili was beyond resolution? Kunte asked, astonished. So, you planned to overturn the situation from the very beginning? You never intended to address the issue conventionally, but chose the most straightforward and forceful method instead. If someone is non-compliant, simply replace them with an identical but obedient counterpart. What about those who aren't going to have their bodies cloned? With only a little over 100 bodies, even if all of them are replaced, it would be challenging for these individuals to control the situation, Jarno expressed, still somewhat concerned. Indeed, and to be cautious, I didn't select those with the highest status, as that would increase the likelihood of exposing our secrets, Tang Xiao admitted. However, placing them directly in the medical cabins is a relatively rudimentary approach. It's possible to modify these individuals' memories, but there's a risk that the memories could be misplaced. Over time, this might heighten the risk of exposure. Vol 2, Chapter 1250, Mayor of the Capital City. Tang Xiao confidently outlined his strategy. As for the risk of exposure, I have a plan. Our immediate task is to distribute these medical cabins from the Rebirth Project. Then, we'll establish safe houses in various locations, specifically designed to alter the memories of certain individuals. Kunte, skeptical, threw his hands up in the air. But who will manage these safe houses? Who can we trust with such a task? Surely, you're not considering Bangira Ulan for this. That's why we need to recruit our first ally, Tang Xiao replied with a smirk. I believe the mayor of Jogan City, the capital of planet Lundili, would be an excellent candidate. Jogan City, the bustling capital of Lundili, stood as a testament to urbanization, sprawling over 500,000 square kilometers and housing over 10 billion inhabitants. Despite the planet's extensive urban development, it was still organized into numerous cities or districts for easier administrative management. Jogan City, in particular, was the largest and most central administrative division on Lundili. Interestingly, Jogan City's underground structure only extended 3 levels deep, housing essential city infrastructure like energy, water treatment, and waste disposal facilities. Beyond these levels lay a reinforced rock layer, preventing any further excavation. This unique configuration made Jogan City resemble a towering underground mountain, surrounded by areas that delved more than 7,000 kilometers below the surface. This architectural marvel was reminiscent of Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic. To maintain such a complex structure, Lundili had invested vast resources to stabilize the planet's crust and upper mantle. The sheer scale of this engineering feat highlighted the stark contrast in production capabilities between core Milky Way planets and those in the middle and outer rings. Lundili's output alone could rival that of thousands of outer ring planets. Daman Lopez, the 50-year-old mayor of Jogan, was a figure of some controversy. Known for his balding head and portly figure, he was currently enjoying the company of 2 beautiful women, lavishing in the luxuries of his position. As he indulged in the feast before him, a man approached with a glass of wine, offering to summon some of the finest Twi'lek beauties for the mayor's pleasure. Ah, no need. I'm too old for those little temptresses, Damon chuckled, playfully pinching one of the women, who responded with a coquettish giggle. Tell the gentleman you represent not to worry. Such trivial matters don't require his concern. A simple message would suffice. The man quickly refilled Damon's glass, expressing gratitude on behalf of his lord. Damon, bursting with laughter, dismissed the concerns about the Rendili Interstellar Power Company's impending doom. Everyone knows the Ulan family is at a loss with Kuat. They're just waiting for the end, and when they can no longer manage the crisis, companies like Rendili Interstellar will crumble. But within Jogan City, I call the shots. The Ulan family's assets here will be mine to command. Ha 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 ha! But the Ulan family has ruled Lundili for more than 20,000 years. it's not so easy to undermine their power. You're looking at it all wrong. You folks in Coruscant don't understand the situation in Lindili. So what if the Ulan family claims a history of 25,000 years? Can history be eaten as food? Our Lopez family was among the largest shipyard owners in Lindili during the Mandalorian War over 4,000 years ago. And now, what does Rendili offer me? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Daman stroked the few strands of hair on his forehead as he spoke. The man opposite him smirked. What I mean is, now is the time to act against the Ulan family. Daman slapped his chest confidently. Leave it to me. In a few days, I'll secretly incite several factory strikes and riots to give the Ulan family a warning. Then, I'll have someone audit their taxes. The two exchanged knowing looks and laughed in agreement. Mr. Mayor, as long as you can handle the situation in Lindili, the council mentioned you could be appointed as the governor of a central ring planet. Imagine that, ruling over an entire planet. That would be quite the hassle. Quite the hassle indeed. Ha ha ha! Daman laughed heartily. Oh, and make sure not to saddle me with those mixed races. I want a planet populated by humans. No problem at all. Daman Lopez, intoxicated, staggered back to his mansion with the aid of 4 bodyguards. Upon reaching the door, he couldn't resist giving a lewd slap to the buttocks of 2 beauties, smirking. Get ready and wait for me in bed. 2 bodyguards stood vigil at the mansion's entrance, immovable, even if the mayor himself approached, a testament to their dedication. As Daman entered, he detected a faint, unpleasant odor emanating from the guards, but dismissed it with a wave, attributing it to sweat. Why are these 2 reeking so much? Give them a couple of days off with pay to clean up, then return to duty. Be careful. That's the smell of death, one of the bodyguards exclaimed, instantly alert. 3 of them quickly escorted Daman inside and secured the door, while the 4th stayed outside to investigate. What's going on? Daman, still foggy from alcohol, struggled to grasp the situation. The 3 bodyguards drew their blaster pistols and activated portable energy shields from their wrists, forming a protective circle around Daman. Situation unclear. Recommend staying put and awaiting backup. I'll call for. Mid-sentence, one bodyguard suddenly fell silent, his arms dropping lifelessly to his sides. What's happening to you? Daman sensed danger immediately. At that moment, the door creaked open, revealing 3 figures, the 2 gate guards and the bodyguard who had gone to investigate. They staggered in, making hoarse, gasping sounds, as if their throats were parched. Under the mansion's bright lights, Daman saw their true condition. Their skin was a ghastly shade of blue and purple, marked with the telltale signs of decay. Ah! Help! Help me! Terrified, Daman fell to the ground, screaming. However, the 3 bodyguards beside him turned around slowly to reveal their faces, now beginning to rot. In a moment of horror, Daman realized he was surrounded by the dead. Vol 2, Chapter 1251, Clone, Human Cloning. Daman Lopez's terror escalated as he witnessed his 3 bodyguards, initially assigned to protect him, inexplicably turn into lifeless corpses. His attempts to flee were futile. The very guards, meant to ensure his safety, now ensnared him with decaying arms, their grip unyielding. The overpowering stench of death nearly suffocated him as the reanimated corpses of his other 3 bodyguards approached, their bruised and rotting hands reaching out to him. Daman's screams were abruptly silenced as he lost consciousness, his eyes rolling back in terror. He was abruptly awakened by the cold splash of wine, shaking his head vigorously and opening his eyes, only to be greeted by a decaying hand swiftly covering his mouth. In a panic, he tore a piece of skin from the hand, which triggered an immediate and violent bout of vomiting. I suggest you keep quiet. Your mansion may be well insulated against sound, but I assure you, your screams are not pleasant to my ears, a calm voice advised from the shadows. Daman, trembling, looked up to see a figure in a black robe seated on his bed, flanked by the 2 women he had been admiring earlier. However, they too had been transformed into corpses, their bodies suggesting they had been dead for days. Daman's instinct to scream was quashed by the sight of his 6 bodyguards, now also corpses, standing ominously around him. Though he managed to stifle his voice, his fear was evident elsewhere as he visibly wet himself. Mayor Daman, this is quite unbecoming of you, the figure tutted. You've been quite the force of disruption in Qiaojin City, opposing Lindili with such vigor, and yet here you are, so easily undone. Realization dawned on Damon, and he immediately fell to his knees, pleading, "No, please, you've misunderstood. I've never opposed Lundili, never. I was coerced, I swear. It was the Republic." Darth Malthael stood, his voice cold. "I'm not interested in your excuses. Come, you're going to accompany me, and we'll be taking your luxury car." The zombified bodyguards lifted Damon from the ground and escorted him outside. Damon attempted to scream for help, only to discover he had been rendered mute, a realization that filled him with dread. Darth Malthael's glance back at him was filled with scorn. "Save me. Please, someone save me." Damon's silent pleas were in vain, as he was forced into his luxurious hovercar, which swiftly disappeared into the bustling city. To any observer, it appeared as though Damon Lopez was merely enjoying a night out, flanked by bodyguards and accompanied by two beauties. Minutes later, Damon was brought to an unremarkable apartment in the basement level of Qiaogen City. Upon exiting the car, Darth Malthael's mere gaze caused the decaying bodyguards to wither rapidly, their bodies collapsing into skeletons before disintegrating into dust, leaving behind only their empty clothes. Witnessing this horrifying spectacle, Damon was on the verge of fainting from fear. Regaining his ability to speak, he frantically vowed, "I swear I'll be loyal to Lundili for the rest of my life, even if someone were to kidnap my mother." Damon pleaded desperately, "Please, I will never betray Rendili again. Please give me a chance. From now on, you are like a father to me. Rendili is also my father. Don't kill me. Please, don't kill me." However, Darth Malthael remained silent, and with an invisible force, he hurled Damon into the apartment. Inside, Kunter and Jarno were present, and Spud, the Rhodian engineer from Kunter's team, was busy working on a rebirth medical cabin. Upon seeing Damon being thrown in, Kunter exclaimed, "Hey, isn't this the esteemed mayor of Qiaogen City? I caught your speech on TV just now, but you seemed a bit too emotional. You didn't spare any praise for Rendili, almost to the point of cursing. What brings you here?" Seeing Kunter as a potential savior, Damon crawled to his side, clinging to his leg, tears and snot streaming down his face. "Please, let me go. I beg you. I will never oppose Rendili again. Never." Kunter, detecting the stench of death on Damon, grimaced, pushed him away, and looked up at Darth Malthael. "Spud has finished setting up the medical cabin. Do you want to test it?" "There's no need. I'll handle it myself. There won't be any mistakes," Darth Malthael replied coldly. Shortly after, Damon felt a sharp pain in his head and lost consciousness. When Damon Lopez awoke, he couldn't tell how much time had passed. He heard Kunter's voice nearby. 2 steps. Yes, that's good. A jump and a smile. Opening his eyes, Damon realized he was dressed in a white hospital gown and was still in the apartment. He sat up from the makeshift bed and noticed the window beside him was unlocked, seemingly easy to escape through. However, after witnessing Darth Malthael's capabilities, Damon no longer dared to resist. He opened the door and stepped out, only to find the group he had seen upon his arrival gathered around someone else in a hospital gown. As Damon approached, he was shocked to see the person at the center of the group. It was himself. The other Damon turned to him with a familiar, official smile and said, "Oh, it's truly wonderful to see you're all right. Ah! How do you feel? Is there anything unusual about your body?" Damon recognized this smile instantly. It was the same one he used, whether attending meetings or hosting receptions. But now, this smile was directed at him, not from a hologram, but from his own double. Please remember the original domain name of this book. Volume 2, Chapter 1252, The Expansion of the Plan. Mayor Damon was utterly speechless, his body going limp as he slumped to the ground in disbelief. What are you planning to do, Mayor Damon?" Darth Malthael asked ominously from the side. Damon's clone, with a laugh that chilled the bone, replied, "My plan is to enact new laws that will overturn everything detrimental to Rendili that came before. Then, I'll head to my safe and gather all the evidence of my past corruption, especially the documents detailing my illicit dealings with officials from the Galactic Republic." "Ah!" The real Damon's face turned ghostly pale upon hearing these words. The clone's expression twisted into something vile as he added, "And of course, I won't forget about the young wife I've recently remarried. I'll take good care of her. Ah, and my daughter, too." It seems their ages are quite similar. Unable to contain his horror and rage any longer, Damon roared and lunged at the clone, pinning him to the ground and attempting to strangle him as he shouted, "You monster! Die! Just die!" However, in the next instant, an invisible force flung him away. Looking up in shock, Damon saw Darth Malthael's face, so indistinct that its features were unrecognizable. Realization dawned on Damon, and he crawled to Darth Malthael, weeping and begging, "My lord, please no, I'll do anything you ask, just don't let this clone loose. Please." Darth Malthael kicked him aside, his voice icy as he revealed, "Who said anything about a clone? This is the real Damon Lopez, and you're the clone." Damon collapsed, his mind a blank slate of despair. Darth Malthael looked down at him and said, "I didn't come here to offer second chances. I came to bring change. If you're looking for someone to blame your past actions that drew my attention. Please, let me go," Damon murmured weakly. "Of course, I'll let you go. Observing your political maneuvers in Chaojin City and your indulgent nightlife has been quite the novel experience for me." Darth Malthael laughed heartily. Meanwhile, several new bodyguards had already dressed the clone in an exquisite suit, surrounding him as they entered a luxury car and drove away. Darth Malthael, now disguised as a bodyguard, blended in seamlessly. He left Damon alive, not out of mercy, but because the real amusement wasn't in making him watch his clone wreak havoc, though that was indeed entertaining. The core reason lay in the technology behind the rebirth plan. As Darth Malthael had explained, the plan could copy a person's memories in their entirety, but it couldn't pinpoint specific memories for manipulation. It was like having a copy of a vast treasure chest without knowing the exact location of a heart-shaped diamond within it. Perhaps a Jedi Knight or Sith Lord skilled in such matters could achieve this, but Darth Malthael's talents lay elsewhere. Thus, he had to compromise. He created an identical clone and transferred the original's memories into this new vessel. This was the extent of the rebirth plan's mature technology. The real challenge was in transferring a portion of the soul into the new body, infusing it with a new personality that bore traits like loyalty to Darth Malthael. This feat, once beyond Darth Malthael's capabilities, had become possible only after his journey to the planet Korriban and a significant increase in his powers. The introduction of a new personality capable of replacing the previous one, utilizing its memories in a different manner, serves as a chilling reminder of the lengths to which the Galactic Republic's cloning technology has advanced. This technology not only ensures obedience through the fear of being replaced, but also acts as a crucial backup. Should a clone encounter any issues, the original body stands ready as the ultimate contingency. This approach is akin to using a genuine coin to pass off as counterfeit currency, fooling detection methods by presenting something undeniably real at the most critical moment. In the capital of Lundili Planet, Jogan City, stands the administrative headquarters of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company. This structure is a marvel of engineering and architecture, soaring over 5,000 meters into the sky. At its base, a T-shaped platform supports three massive rectangular buildings, with the central building crowned by a holographic projection of the Milky Way, spanning 1,000 meters in diameter. This dazzling display not only serves as the company's logo, but also as a testament to the Lundili Interstellar Power Company's formidable technical prowess and financial strength. The design and construction of the platform, capable of supporting the immense weight of the buildings, showcase advancements in mechanics, material science, and anti-gravity technology. Emerging from the office of the supreme leader of the Lundili Interplanetary Dynamics Corporation atop the central building were three figures clad in coarse robes. Leading the group was Jedi Master Pulo Kong, a member of the Supreme Council of the Jedi Order. Following him were two Jedi Knights, Jax Pawan and Jing Fang, who had been partners since completing their Jedi apprentice training and becoming official Jedi Knights. Their mission, under the guidance of Master Pulo Kong, was to address a potential rebellion on the planet Rendili, highlighting the ongoing efforts of the Jedi to maintain peace and order across the galaxy. Vol 2, Chapter 1253, Planetary Defense Fleet. Master Pulo, Bangira Ulan is clearly deceiving us. Why don't we just expose him? Jing Fang questioned as they walked. Jax Pawan nodded in agreement, adding, "He claims to be utterly loyal to the Galactic Republic, yet he's been secretly colluding with the Separatists. We should detain such a traitor immediately." Master Puluokong shook his head, a thoughtful expression on his face. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, which is precisely what the Jedi Order needs right now. However, the situation on Lundili is quite complex. Given Bangira Ulan's current standing, we cannot take action against him just yet." Jingfang, with a sense of righteousness, countered, "Isn't the Jedi Order meant to confront the evils that the Galactic Republic cannot?" "Indeed, Jingfang," Puluokong acknowledged with a nod. "But what we lack is irrefutable evidence. Isn't Bangira Ulan's attempt to assassinate the commander of the defense fleet crime enough?" Jax Pawan interjected, his brow furrowed in concern. "Firstly, the Lundili Planetary Defense Fleet is technically under the Lundili Interstellar Power Company's jurisdiction. The commanders he targeted are not officials of the Galactic Republic, but employees of the company. According to Bangira, he could justify his actions as part of their internal power struggles," explained Puluokong. "Furthermore, some actions of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company are considered commercial maneuvers. They're expanding into other areas because they're unable to secure contracts. As long as those military-grade ships don't enter the market, they're not technically breaking any laws." "Master Puluo, it sounds like you're making excuses for Bangira Ulan," Jingfang remarked, scratching his head in confusion. "I'm highlighting the strategy Lundili is currently employing. They're masking all issues under the guise of internal company disputes," Puluokong clarified patiently. "Our task is not to play into their hands, but to uncover the truth they're trying to hide. We need to understand Bangira Ulan's true intentions before we can act." Jingfang sighed, rubbing his temples. "Honestly, I'd prefer to be on the front lines, fighting the good fight. The battlefield is straightforward. All I need to do is ignite my lightsaber and vanquish our foes. My concerns lie with the bounty hunter who has a mechanical arm," Jax Pawan, who was always thinking ahead, mused. "Despite the rampant rumors of Rendili's impending separatism, the most credible information came from her. She claims to be an undercover agent for the Republic, yet she has avoided meeting us in person. Why is that?" Puluokong responded, "That's why we must identify the real issue. If we can't find what we're looking for from the Republic's perspective, we must investigate the Separatists. Ultimately, whatever their plan is, it will lead us back to the Separatists." "Thank you for your guidance, Master Puluo," Jingfang said with a bow. "Let's head to the defense fleet. Perhaps Captain Jesse Dallin, the fleet commander, can provide us with additional insights," Puluokong suggested. "We also need to understand the cause of the minor rebellion that occurred a week ago." Jingfang and Jax Pawn nodded in agreement. Their shuttle departed from the planet Lundili, first docking at the Jaeger-class battlecruiser Sundiver in orbit. After a brief rest, they continued their journey to the Lundili Planetary Defense Fleet, aiming directly for the flagship, the Dreadnought-class heavy cruiser Mursal Kabir. As the Jedi Knight's shuttle approached, it was intercepted by the Defense Fleet's fighter jets, signaling the beginning of their investigation. On board a Fear-class heavy cruiser in the Planetary Defense Fleet, a formidable woman clad in tights sat beside a porthole, her gaze fixed coldly in the distance. Her right arm, from the shoulder down, was entirely mechanical. In her hand, she held a portable communicator, her eyes never leaving the shuttle that was attempting to dock. With a faint voice, he remarked, "The Jedi Knights are making their way towards the Messerkerber. It seems our commander, Jesse Darling, is reluctant to welcome them, but I doubt he'll be able to keep them at bay for long." The voice that responded from the communicator, though lacking a holographic projection, was unmistakably sinister and greasy, making one's skin crawl upon hearing it. That's what I admire about Jedi Knights. Once they've set their sights on a target, they latch on like leeches, relentless in their pursuit. The voice belonged to none other than Darth Sidious. The woman remained silent, continuing to observe the shuttle. As anticipated, it wasn't long before the flagship's hangar platform opened, allowing the Jedi Knight's shuttle to enter. She sneered. "Exactly. Jesse Darling is nothing but a coward and a fool. He's not even a legitimate military officer of the Galactic Republic, but merely an employee of Lundili. At best, he's a captain in title only, but in reality, he's a mere clown. My intelligence officers have thoroughly investigated his character, which is why I instructed you to spare his life during the recent uprisings, Darth Sidious explained. The Jedi Knights will handle him. So, with that being said, we now have control over the entire Lundili planetary defense fleet, correct? From what we've observed, that appears to be the case. No one in the planetary defense fleet dares to even whisper about defecting from the Galactic Republic. The woman replied nonchalantly. However, there seems to be a lack of tension between the two parties at the moment. I've noticed that the atmosphere within the defense fleet has become surprisingly relaxed. Jesse Darling even granted permission for officers and soldiers from those battleships to return to the planet Lundili for vacation in shifts just the day before yesterday. This is a troubling development, Arden Lin, given the current complexities surrounding Lundili. Allowing personnel to abandon their posts for a vacation is highly irregular and must be halted immediately, Darth Sidious exclaimed. I share your concerns. Once the Jedi Knights have dealt with Captain Darling, I'll investigate his actions further. The female bounty hunter, known as Arden Lin, furrowed her brow. Lately, our plans haven't been progressing as smoothly as anticipated. It's possible that Bangira Ulan is mounting a covert resistance. I've noticed that some of our operations against the Rendili Interstellar Power Company have been losing momentum. Note: initially, I had intended to introduce a new character for this role. However, our operations officer brought up Arden Lin. Remarkably, her mechanical prosthetic limb matched the envisioned height for Arden Lin perfectly. Although, according to the original storyline, Arden Lin wasn't supposed to appear for another decade, I thought, why not introduce her earlier? Perhaps her early appearance will ignite a different kind of intrigue. Vol 2, Chapter 1254, The Calm Before the Storm, Part 1. Darth Sidious chuckled. The resistance against Rendili is waning, which proves that Bangira Ulan has some competence after all. But no matter how hard he tries, it's futile. Stoke the flames further, pushing Rendili towards the Separatists. Then, victory will be ours. Arden Lin responded with a cold tone. It's challenging to deal with someone who only looks out for themselves. You might be under a slight misconception, Arden Lin. Rendili was never truly mine to begin with. Darth Sidious sneered before ending the communication. Arden Lin, sitting on the windowsill, snorted disdainfully. Her gaze remained fixed on the flagship of the Lundili Planet Defense Fleet, the Messer Kerber, visible through the porthole. I understand. I accept your suggestion and will ensure this fleet remains aligned with the Galactic Republic. Jesse Darling nodded to the three Jedi standing before him. The army officer, in his 40s with neatly combed back curly hair, bore a long scar that nearly severed his left cheekbone. Maintaining the peace and unity of the Galactic Republic is our collective responsibility. Do not grow complacent simply because you command the local defense fleet, Jedi Knight Jing Fang stated firmly. Jesse Darling gave him a look as if he were observing a lunatic. We appreciate your cooperation, Captain Jesse Darling. Additionally, we're curious if Bangira Ulan truly intends to surrender Rendili to the Separatists? Plo Koon inquired. I'm merely a captain commander. The machinations of someone like Bangira are beyond my understanding, Darling replied. Plo Koon nodded. Understood. We'll leave the management of the Lundili Planet Defense Fleet to you. Should you need us, feel free to reach out. We'll be stationed at Lundili for at least the next month. That's enough, Jesse Darling waved his hand dismissively, turning his back to them. Shortly after the Jedi Knights departed, the bridge door opened, and Arden Lin entered with several individuals dressed as agents. What did the Jedi want? She asked directly. I've agreed to align the planetary defense fleet with the Galactic Republic, Captain Darling answered. Then, could you explain why, given the current circumstances, you've ordered the officers and soldiers of the planetary defense fleet to take leave on planet Lundili? Arden Lin questioned. It's precisely because of the situation that I need to ensure the crew's nerves are relaxed to prevent any rash actions, Captain Darling explained convincingly. Cancel the leave immediately and put the entire fleet on combat readiness, Arden Lin commanded. I am the commander of this fleet. Jesse Darling raised his voice, a hint of defiance in his tone, though he took a step back. I will hand over this fleet to the Galactic Republic. Arden Lynn frowned, puzzled by Jessie Darling's unyielding stance. She couldn't pinpoint the source of his newfound defiance. She lightly slapped Darling's cheek, smirking. Then you'd better remember the promise you made to me back then. As she walked out of the bridge, Arden Lynn was deep in thought, unable to shake off the feeling that Jessie Darling had received some assurance from the Jedi Knights, emboldening him. Yet, his readiness to align with the Galactic Republic without hesitation was puzzling, especially since the Jedi Knights and she should have shared a common goal. Arden Lynn sensed a disturbance in the Force, a feeling of unease that she couldn't shake off. This intuition, much like the one Darth Sidious experienced upon learning that the fleet was taking a break in batches, suggested that something was amiss. For those attuned to the Force, even the slightest premonition could be a harbinger of significant events. After pondering for a moment, she instructed her agents, "Reach out to our contacts. We need to gauge their current stance on the situation and find out why the Rendili Interstellar Power Company's activities have diminished recently." "Understood," replied several agents, nodding in agreement. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit bar, a holographic projection displayed a TV program from the Galaxy Holographic Network. The program featured an interview with Damon Lopez, the mayor of Horgan City. The charming host greeted him warmly. "Dear Mayor Damon, it's a pleasure to have you with us. The people are very concerned about the recent issues with Rendili. Could you share your thoughts on the matter?" Mayor Damon responded with a smile. "I'm not affiliated with the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, so it's not my place to comment on their operations. However, as the mayor, I assure you that my allegiance lies with the citizens." The host pressed on. "You've been quite vocal about your criticism towards the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, blaming them for the economic downturn on Lundili, yet you seem to have softened your stance. What prompted this change?" Damon replied calmly, "My perspective hasn't shifted. If it seemed like I was targeting Rendili Star Kinetics, it was only because I oppose the war they're a part of. My focus has now broadened to understanding the root cause of our planet's current predicament." Intrigued, the host asked, "Do you believe you found the answer?" "I do," Damon admitted, "but now is not the right time to disclose it." Watching the interview from a corner of the bar, a man clenched his fists in frustration. After downing his drink, he sent an encrypted message. "Mayor Damon has deviated from the plan. He's no longer exerting pressure on the Rendili star power as expected." This sentiment was echoed across various locations on Rendili, indicating a widespread concern over the recent developments. Vol 2, Chapter 1255, The Calm Before the Storm. Numerous encrypted messages were dispatched from the planet Rendili, all bearing a similar message. A significant figure on Rendili had abruptly altered their stance, ceasing all hostile actions against the Rendili Interstellar Power Company. This change was unexpected, especially considering that just a week prior, the planet was rife with various forms of protest against the company, including worker strikes and the expulsion of the unemployed. These individuals, having lost their source of income due to the company's long-standing loss of contracts from the Galactic Republic, had no choice but to direct their frustrations at the Rendili Interstellar Power Company. It's important to note that the Rendili Interstellar Power Company had not always been in decline. In the past, even during downturns, it managed to secure an impressive volume of orders, which kept the interstellar docks and factories on Rendili bustling with activity. However, the company had recently lost nearly all of its orders from the Galactic Republic, affecting not just military contracts but civilian ones as well, with a reduction of over 70%. Despite having a diverse portfolio spanning various industries, the paralysis of its main business brought underlying issues to the forefront. Criticism from officials on Rendili was rampant, with many condemning the company's policy errors for the planet's economic downturn. Furthermore, certain forces seemed to be exacerbating the situation, inciting widespread opposition against the company and increasing its burdens. There were even instances of affiliated companies seeking independence, eyeing the assets of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company for acquisition. Amidst this turmoil, the Interstellar Banking Association, despite its own internal divisions, intervened. Rush Clovis, leader of the human faction, issued a stark warning to the Rendili Interstellar Power Company: resolve your internal issues or face a cessation of loans. This threat added another layer of difficulty for the already beleaguered company. Yet, in a surprising turn of events, the tide of opposition began to recede rapidly, as if guided by an unseen hand. This shift was largely attributed to a few influential figures who, upon changing their stance, influenced many others to follow suit. This led to an eerie calm across Rendili, a stark contrast to the recent turmoil. Meanwhile, Darth Messiaen was at the Ulan family's manor, discussing the Galactic Republic's recent reactions with Bangira Ulan. His fiancée, Adele Ulan, was present as well, occasionally glancing over the documents of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company and then at the ongoing discussion. However, Darth Messiaen seemed preoccupied, his attention not on Adele's beauty or the subtle fragrance she emitted, but on a particular name that caught his eye: Aiden Lin. Why is she involved? Darth Messiaen mused, his brow furrowed in thought. His plan, which began with the kidnapping and impersonation of Daman, the mayor of Horgan City, had progressed smoothly. With Daman's unwitting assistance, he and Kunte had managed to establish over 70 safe houses in Xiaogan City, all without attracting any suspicion. Yet, this unexpected development involving Aiden Lin prompted him to reassess his strategy, aware that even the slightest oversight could unravel his carefully laid plans. The house was equipped with a medical cabin dedicated to the rebirth plan. Additionally, 50 other medical cabins were strategically placed across the planet, targeting influential figures opposed to the Lundali Interstellar Power Company and the Ulan family. Initially, Darth Messiaen personally oversaw the kidnappings. However, as the operation expanded, it gained momentum like a snowball, rapidly increasing in scale and complexity. Within a week, most of the 100-plus clones Darth Messiaen brought had been deployed. These replacements, wielding significant strength and resources, gradually formed a formidable force that disrupted the peace on the Vunapur planet Rendili. Following a pattern similar to a previous interview with the mayor of Daman, they began shifting their public stance, acknowledging Rendili's economic downturn and distancing themselves from Lundili interplanetary dynamics. This shift was part of a larger strategy to set the stage for their ultimate move. The Galactic Republic's intelligence department, vigilant and resourceful, quickly noticed these unusual developments. Taking advantage of the Republic's access to Lundili, a significant number of agents and intelligence officers covertly infiltrated the planet to investigate the sudden change in narrative among key individuals. This scrutiny put the authenticity of the clones to a rigorous test. It was during this period that Darth Messiaen turned his attention to addressing the challenges posed by the Galactic Republic. A bounty hunter, once a trusted ally of Bangira Ulan, but later revealed to be an undercover agent for the Republic, caught Darth Messiaen's attention. Initially underestimating the bounty hunter as merely a skilled agent of the Republic's intelligence service, Darth Messiaen was taken aback upon discovering the hunter's identity, Arden Lin. Noticing Darth Messiaen's reaction, Bangira Ulan, in remote communication, inquired, "What? Do you know this person?" With a slight smirk, Darth Messiaen responded, "Indeed, since I've already shared with you about our esteemed Galactic Council chairman, the Lord of the Sith, Darth Sidious, revealing Arden Lin's identity shouldn't be an issue." Bangira Ulan's expression turned grave, sensing the significance of the revelation. Even Adele Ulan, pretending to focus on her documents, listened intently. Arden Lin lived over 20,000 years ago and was a formidable practitioner of the dark side of the Force, Darth Messiaen explained. "If it is indeed her, then your previous concerns about your life being in her hands were justified." "How has she survived all this time?" Bangira Ulan asked, puzzled. "She mastered a Force technique that allowed her to enter a state of suspended animation. Additionally, she possesses a powerful artifact that has kept her in this state until now," Darth Messiaen revealed. "The specifics of her awakening and how she came to serve Darth Sidious are unknown to me. However, I am certain of her strength." "How strong?" Bangira Ulan pressed. "She is a master of Teras Kasi, a martial art that enables her to contend with Jedi Knights unarmed. Ardenlin's power is such that even I am unsure of my chances against her, Darth Messianer admitted. Palpatine, to think he sent such a formidable person to infiltrate my ranks. The audacity! Benjira Ulan exclaimed, realizing the gravity of the threat posed by this undercover agent. Hunter's display of power left Benjira Ulan drenched in a cold sweat. He stammered, "Then, what should we do?" Please remember to visit the first domain name of this book for updates. Vol 2, Chapter 1256, Calm in the Storm, Part 2. Darth Messiaen pondered for a moment, recalling various events related to Ardenlin from the Star Wars saga. Although Ardenlin wasn't a household name in the original storyline, her impact was undeniable. Her most notable achievements included partnering with Imperial Navy Admiral Zarin in a coup d'etat to abduct Darth Sidious, the reigning emperor of the Galactic Empire, and training several formidable apprentices. Among these apprentices was a Tuskensha who managed to defeat Darth Vader. This indicated that both Sidious and Vader, master and apprentice, had faced setbacks due to her, highlighting her formidable strength. In the original narrative, Arden Lin was awakened by a series of accidental events after the Clone Wars ended and the Galactic Empire was established, eventually aligning herself with Darth Sidious. However, her awakening occurred a few years earlier than planned, a deviation Darth Messiaen attributed to his significant influence on the storyline. Despite the altered plot direction, he recognized that certain elements, such as character traits, interests, and organizational affiliations, remained constant. Thus, although Ardenlin's awakening was premature, her reasons for following Darth Sidious remained unchanged. Ardenlin, possessing exceptional strength and leadership skills, was not motivated by wealth or power. Her sole concern was her husband, Zendor, who had been deceased for over 24,000 years. Her deep love for him drove her to explore every possible means to resurrect him, a vulnerability Darth Sidious exploited to secure her loyalty. Darth Messiaen stroked his chin thoughtfully. He was acutely aware of the knowledge Darth Sidious had acquired from their shared mentor, Darth Plagueis. Sidious's mastery of the Force was unparalleled, yet his proficiency in the realm of eternal life was virtually non-existent. He had failed to grasp Darth Plagueis's techniques for achieving immortality, effectively deceiving Arden Lin with promises he couldn't fulfill. This deception mirrored the false assurances he had given Anakin Skywalker, using Darth Plagueis's research as a lure for those with limited understanding of the Force. However, Darth Messiaen harbored a secret advantage. Unlike Sidious, he possessed the capability to resurrect the dead. Although reviving someone who had been deceased for over 24,000 years seemed far-fetched, even for a master of the Death Force, he could perform resurrections that were far more credible than Sidious's empty promises. A smirk played on Darth Messiaen's lips as he addressed Benjila Ulan. "You need not concern yourself with Arden Lin. I will handle her. However, now that we are aware of her presence, we must prioritize the safety of you and the Ulan family's senior management. Her current inaction does not guarantee future restraint. Given the circumstances, it's only natural for Darth Sidious to seek assistance from Count Dooku." "Understood. I will ensure that all resources are mobilized to support any arrangements you make," Benjila Ulan responded, bowing his head in agreement. As the storm of conflict brewed, Darth Messiaen's strategic foresight and readiness to confront the challenges ahead promised a semblance of calm amidst the chaos. In recent days, Benjira Ulan witnessed what could only be described as a miracle. Since the arrival of the so-called Death Angel, the dissenters against the Rendili Interstellar Power Company had suddenly become subdued and compliant. However, it wasn't his place to refer to the enigmatic figure as the Death Angel. To him, the individual was known by a more earthly name, Tang Xiao. Through means beyond Ulan's understanding, Tang Xiao had managed to quell the unrest. Ulan was convinced that given enough time, Tang Xiao could have single-handedly claimed the planet Lundali for himself. When the methods are mysterious but the outcomes are undeniable, the only fitting term is indeed miracle. This turn of events only deepened Ulan's fear of Tang Xiao. Darth Messiaen, observing Ulan's reaction, remarked, "The time is nearly upon us. We need about a week, and then it will be time for the final confrontation." "A confrontation so soon?" Ulan was visibly surprised. Every strategy has its limits. My approach, while unconventional, can only maintain its effectiveness for so long under these unpredictable circumstances. As time progresses, the Republic will inevitably devise a countermeasure. Thus, the impact of our current strategy will diminish, Darth Messiah explained. Furthermore, it's only through confrontation that we can truly gauge the Galactic Republic's capabilities. Without revealing their hand, even the strongest card is useless against the weakest opponent. Ulan, though unfamiliar with the analogy of the Ace of Spades and the Three of Diamonds, grasped the essence of Darth Messiah's message. He nodded in agreement. Understood. What do you need me to do? Prepare a military governance structure. When the moment is right, seize control of the planet Lundili and its defense fleet, Darth Messiah instructed. Don't tell me your Rendili Interstellar Power Company isn't capable of that. I can do it, Ulan confirmed, but once we proceed, there's no turning back. All opposing forces will be forced into the open. A sinister smile crept across Darth Messiah's face. Then, let the decisive battle begin. He stood, his presence commanding. Don't think I've come unprepared. Earl Dooku is closely monitoring the situation on Rendili. The fleet led by General Severance Tan will soon depart. This place will become a battlefield. At the mention of a battlefield, a shade of fear washed over Ulan's face. Us directly before now. Arden Lin leaned back, her gaze sharp and calculating. Timing is everything in intelligence work. Direct contact too early could have compromised the mission. Plus, I needed to confirm my suspicions and gather undeniable evidence before making my move. Now, with the situation escalating, it's time to bring this to your attention. Pulo Kong nodded, understanding the precarious nature of undercover work. So, you believe that the sudden shift in allegiance among the citizens of Lundili is not a mere coincidence, but a result of brainwashing control. Exactly, Arden Lin confirmed. The pattern is too consistent and widespread to be anything but orchestrated. It's a sophisticated form of manipulation, likely involving the dark side of the Force, which is why it went undetected for so long. Jing Fang crossed his arms, deep in thought. This is a grave matter. If the Lundili Interstellar Power Company is indeed using dark side techniques to brainwash people, it could have far-reaching consequences, not just for the Galactic Republic, but for the balance of the Force itself. Jax Pavan interjected. But our primary concern remains ensuring that Rendili's star power remains loyal to the Republic. We must investigate this brainwashing allegation thoroughly and take appropriate action to counteract it. Arden Lin nodded in agreement. That's why I'm here. We need to act swiftly to uncover the extent of this manipulation and put an end to it before it's too late. I have some leads that could help us get to the bottom of this. Master Pulo Kong stood up, his expression resolute. Then let's not waste any more time. We'll need to coordinate with the Republic's intelligence services and possibly other Jedi Knights. Arden Lin, your knowledge and skills will be invaluable in this investigation. Arden Lin smirked. I thought you'd never ask. Let's get to work. The group quickly set into motion, each member aware of the stakes. The possibility of brainwashing control represented a threat not only to the political stability of the Galactic Republic, but to the very essence of freedom and will. With a sense of urgency, they embarked on their mission to uncover the truth and protect the galaxy from unseen manipulation. Have you been avoiding us all this time? Jax Pawan inquired, his tone laced with a hint of frustration. I'm very busy. I'm not like you Jedi Knights who have the luxury to sit at home and meditate. I have my own responsibilities, Arden Lin retorted sharply. 2 weeks ago, there was a riot within the planetary defense fleet. You were involved in quelling it, resulting in numerous casualties, correct? Jax continued, pressing for details. Arden Lin responded with a cold, matter-of-fact tone. As I've already detailed in my report, the riot was instigated by the Lundili Interstellar Power Company. They aimed to assassinate the fleet commander and seize control. I was aboard the flagship when I received the intel. Consequently, I took action, eliminated some of the insurgents, and restored order, ensuring the fleet's loyalty to the Galactic Republic remained intact. You're welcome. Jing Fang, another Jedi present, expressed his skepticism with a cold snort. I hope your account holds true. Should we discover any dishonorable involvement by the Republic's Ministry of Intelligence in the Rendili incident, rest assured, We will pursue justice, war or no war. Oh, how noble of you, righteous Jedi, Arden Lin mocked, her disdain for the Jedi Knights evident. Furthermore, I have a task for you. Joe Damon Lopez, the mayor of Gen City, has exhibited suspicious behavior recently, raising concerns of potential brainwashing and manipulation. I'm delegating this investigation to you. Without waiting for a response, Arden Lin departed, a smirk playing on her lips. She reveled in the thought, echoing the words of the dark side user who proclaimed himself Darth Sidious, that manipulating the Jedi to serve their ends was far more satisfying than outright confrontation. Meanwhile, Damon Lopez sat despondently in his living room, fixated on the holographic TV broadcasting a news program. This was where he saw his clone acting in his stead, frequently making public appearances. Despite being the real mayor, he felt powerless, confined to his home, unable to act. The clone on the screen was discussing political strategies and subtly blaming an unnamed instigator for the war and the resulting hardships on planet Rendley. The conversation shifted to a more personal note when the host mentioned Damon's daughter's recent absence from school, suggesting he should spend more time with his family. The real Damon, upon hearing this, was overcome with panic and anger. He leaped up, pounding on the door, shouting, "Get out! What have you done to my daughter?" At that moment, Darth Malthael appeared behind him, his presence instantly draining Damon of his resolve. Collapsing to his knees, Damon pleaded through tears, "Please, spare my daughter. I admit my mistakes. I'll do anything you ask, just don't harm her." The fear of his daughter suffering irreparable harm was too much for Damon to bear. Darth Malthael, sensing his desperation, intriguingly inquired, "Oh, are you truly prepared to do anything?" Grasping what felt like the only lifeline in a sea of despair, Damon quickly pleaded, "I'll do anything you ask. Anything at all. Even if it means streaking in front of the Galactic Council. Please, please." Darth Malthael let out a sinister chuckle. "All right, then. I'll give you one chance. Just one. Return to your usual self, and when the Jedi come to investigate you, you know what to do." "The Jedi are investigating me?" Damon's voice trembled, a mix of fear and disbelief coloring his tone. "That's correct. Did you really think it was mere coincidence that the Jedi found you? You've been too compliant lately, so I decided to drop a few hints to lead the Republic's intelligence officers to you. This is your chance to prove yourself. Don't disappoint me, or else." Darth Malthael's voice trailed off into a menacing laugh. Damon prostrated himself at Darth Malthael's feet, his voice fervent with desperation. I swear on my life, I will remain forever loyal to you." Please remember to visit the official website for this book at Website Isle. Vol 2, Chapter 1258, Detonation, Part 1. The mayor of Damon alighted from his hovercar with the urgency of a storm, disregarding his usual composed demeanor as he made a beeline for his home. Without pausing to knock, he burst into his daughter's room, only to find her reclining on the bed, clad in thick pajamas, with a medical robot by her side administering medicine. Upon seeing her father, the daughter expressed her displeasure. "Dad, I've already told you I need to rest. Weren't you supposed to be at a meeting? Why have you come back so suddenly?" It turned out his daughter was genuinely ill and had taken leave to stay at home. This revelation allowed the mayor of Damon to breathe a sigh of relief. The dreadful scenario he had envisioned hadn't unfolded. Yet, it was clear that the anonymous man, whose name and face remained a mystery, had used this incident as a stark warning. Should he dare to defy or spread rumors among the Jedi Knights, the consequences he feared most could very well materialize. Not only could his life be at stake, but his family could also face ruin at the hands of a clone masquerading in his skin. The ramifications of such an event were far more terrifying than death itself. Now, filled with a newfound sense of caution, he knew he wouldn't dare cross paths with that ominous figure again, not even if a Jedi Knight were to threaten him with a lightsaber to his neck. "Heh, take your time to rest. The meeting has been postponed. I'll be on my way now," Mayor Damon managed to say, forcing a strained smile before leaving the room. He headed to the bathroom to splash his face with cold water, attempting to regain his composure, before messaging his assistant to remind him of his schedule for the day. Shortly after, his assistant replied, mentioning a meeting with a Jedi Knight. A sneer formed on Mayor Damon's lips as he responded to the message. Meanwhile, Armand Izard, the current Minister of Intelligence for the Galactic Republic, sat on a sofa in his office, poring over reports from the planet Rendili with a furrowed brow. A tall human with a distinctive streak of white hair, Izard's appearance was as striking as his reputation. After reviewing the information for a prolonged period, he abruptly threw his personal terminal to the floor in frustration, exclaiming, "I knew those Jedi Knights were unreliable. They come here, questioning if we're forcing Rendili into rebellion. And now, after investigating Mayor Damon Lopez, they find nothing out of the ordinary? Useless." However, they did manage to covertly obtain a sample from Mayor Damon's body, and after thorough analysis, confirmed it was indeed him. An intelligence officer cautiously interjected, wary of Izard's temper. "And what of it? Does that rule out brainwashing, coercion, or kidnapping?" Izard retorted sharply. "The mayor's family appears to be conducting their usual activities, and he's been seen socializing with his mistresses as if nothing has changed, except for his sudden shift in attitude," the officer added. "Foolishness," Izard muttered disdainfully. "If his family is unharmed, did it not occur to you to investigate those in his immediate circle? His secretary, assistant, housekeeper, nanny, bodyguard, and even his mistresses. Have you scrutinized their backgrounds? What about his diet and personal habits? Have these been examined?" "No, we're facing a severe manpower shortage on Rendili, and there are too many individuals to monitor," the officer admitted, sweat beading on his forehead. "Then prioritize. Focus on Damon first. If we can uncover something through him, the rest will follow," Izard commanded, his frustration evident as he slammed a teacup against the officer's head. "How can you claim to serve in the intelligence department if you can't handle these basic tasks? If manpower is the issue, then concentrate your efforts on Damon alone. Do I need to spell out everything for you?" Yes, I'll make the arrangements immediately," the officer stammered, hastily organizing a more focused tie-in through his communicator. Communications in order, Assad inquired once more. "What's the status of the Rendili Planet Defense Fleet? We must not slacken our vigilance over those commanders." "The Planetary Defense Fleet is securely under our control. The Jedi Knights previously managed Captain Jesse Darling, and subsequently, we halted the fleet's rotation, placing it into immediate combat readiness. It has now been in this state for 3 days," came the reassuring reply. Finally receiving some positive news, Assad's mood improved. "We must ensure stability on Rendili. Currently, the dispute between the planets Scipio and Megito under the Interstellar Banking Association's watch is escalating. Our resources are stretched thin. However, controlling the planetary defense fleet is our top priority. Everything else can be managed accordingly." "Understood," came the response. Several hours later, Assad received a detailed report on the associates of Mayor Damon. He meticulously reviewed the information, his years of intelligence work honing his ability to spot discrepancies. "These 2 women, they're missing," he noted, pointing to their names on the list. "This information comes from the Republic's Ministry of Commerce. These women, high-ranking foster daughters, were identified by commercial spies during their communications with Damon Lopez on the holographic network. They vanished shortly after. It's possible they were dealt with by the Ministry of Commerce, given their knowledge." Assad then pointed to several other names. "And what about these security personnel? 6 are listed as missing, deceased, or involved in a car accident. Can you explain this?" The intelligence officer hesitated. "Well, on the first day, 2 foster daughters and 6 bodyguards disappear. The following day, Damon changes his stance and ceases all mention of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company. Do you find this normal? You fool. What use are you if you can't see the obvious?" Assad, infuriated, stood up and delivered 2 sharp slaps to the officer. Having served in Stark's hyperspace war and possessing a formidable build, his blows left the officer dazed and bleeding. "There's undoubtedly something amiss with Damon Lopez. Mobilize all our resources to investigate this matter thoroughly. Inform the Jedi Knights and request their assistance. We must uncover the truth behind this," Assad commanded with a fierce determination. Please remember to visit our site for updates on this investigation. Vol 2, Chapter 1259, Detonation, Part 2. Armand Assad, the Minister of Intelligence for the Galactic Republic, had a hunch that something was amiss with Mayor Daman of Daman City. Acting swiftly, Republic intelligence agents managed to discreetly collect a stool sample from Mayor Daman shortly after he visited the restroom. Subsequent analysis revealed the presence of high-fiber tuber plant remnants, a staple food among the common folk of planet Rendili, known for its affordability and satiating properties. However, this discovery was puzzling, as Mayor Daman's recent diet, according to his itinerary, consisted of nothing but exquisite dishes, with no room for such humble fare. Further investigation into Daman's dining history revealed a discrepancy. The day before, Don had indulged in the prized Horok billabong, a delectable yet hard-to-digest fish. Yet, this specific fish's genetic markers were nowhere to be found in the stool sample. This anomaly suggested an unlikely scenario. Unless Daman had expelled the fish immediately after consumption, the person who produced the stool sample could not possibly be the same individual who dined on the Horok billabong. This revelation, coupled with a prior DNA verification confirming the stool sample indeed belonged to Mayor Daman, led to a startling conclusion. The Mayor Daman of recent days might not be the same person at all. The investigation widened, revealing a pattern of disappearances among the security and administrative staff of other high-profile individuals who had recently altered their stances on key issues. This pattern suggested a sinister possibility. These individuals might have been replaced following emergencies that resulted in the elimination of witnesses. Armand Assad, recognizing the gravity of the situation, wasted no time in informing Jedi Master Pulo Kong, who was stationed on Rendili. Without delay, an operation was launched to apprehend Mayor Daman Lopez. Under normal circumstances, such a direct approach by the intelligence department would cause a scandal, potentially disgracing the individuals involved and their families. However, the urgency of the situation left no room for protocol. Despite Assad's decisive action, the plan encountered unexpected resistance. The intelligence team dispatched to arrest Mayor Daman was ambushed, losing contact within seconds, suggesting a leak had compromised their operation. Jedi Master Pulo Kong, along with Jedi Knights Jing Fang and Jax Pavan, immediately set out for the mayor's office upon receiving the distressing update. They arrived in a flurry, leaping from their hovercar before it fully stopped and confronting the security detail at the entrance. Master Pulo Kong, with no time for explanations, unleashed a wave of the Force, sending the bodyguards sprawling. Inside the city hall, they found Mayor Don hastily exiting, flanked by a cadre of bodyguards. Daman Lopez, please halt! You are subject to an investigation by the Galactic Republic, Master Pulo Kong announced, his voice echoing through the corridors, signaling the beginning of a confrontation that would unravel the mystery of the replaced individuals. Pro Kong shouted, but Daman had no intention of stopping. Several bodyguards immediately turned, drawing their blaster pistols to halt their pursuers. Jing Fang stepped forward, raising his hand, and with a swift motion, the blaster pistols flew from the bodyguard's grips, clattering to his feet. Simultaneously, Jax Pawan unleashed a wave of the Force, propelling the bodyguards against the wall with a thud. However, at that moment, an unexpected force wave struck them head-on, momentarily halting their advance. This brief delay allowed Daman to leap into a waiting hovercar and escape into the sky. As Daman fled, Jing Fang caught a glimpse of a familiar figure among the bodyguards. The man looked back, placing a finger to his lips in a shushing gesture. Jing Fang paused, puzzled. "What did you see, Jing Fang?" Jax Pawan inquired, noticing his hesitation. "I thought I saw. No, it can't be. He couldn't possibly be here," Jing Fang replied, shaking his head in disbelief. "Who?" Pro Kong pressed. "Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawn Star. But perhaps I was mistaken," Jing Fang mused, his brow furrowed in thought. "You must have been mistaken. Tang Xiao is a high-ranking separatist and a war criminal. It's unlikely he'd be here in person, though he might send his agents," Jax Pawan reasoned. However, Pro Kong disagreed. "No, I trust Jing Fang's perception. While it seems improbable for Governor Tang Xiao to be here, the Death Angel might." "Death Angel?" Jing Fang echoed, taken aback. "Tang Xiao is the Death Angel. This is a top secret within the Jedi Order," Pro Kong revealed gravely. "How is this possible?" Jing Fang exclaimed in shock. "We'll discuss this later. If the Death Angel is indeed here, the situation may be more dire than we anticipated. Let's pursue them, and I'll contact Master Yoda en route, Procong decided. But their quarry, the cunning Death Angel, had left no hover vehicles nearby, forcing them to return to their own vehicle, wasting precious time. As they boarded the car and Procong reached for the communicator to contact Master Yoda, a breaking news alert flashed across the car's holographic screen, drawing their attention. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Website address. Vol 2, Chapter 1260, Outbreak of Chaos, Part 1. In a moment of desperation, Mayor Damon Lopez confessed to his crimes, revealing a tangled web of deceit and betrayal that implicated not only himself, but also several others in collusion with a Galactic Republic spy. His revelations were damning, leaving no avenue for redemption. Damon understood the gravity of his situation. If his plans in Rendili succeeded, he might find a way out. Failure, however, would leave him at the mercy of a terrifying, mysterious adversary. Damon didn't stop at his own confessions. He proceeded to expose his former allies, revealing their secret communications with the Galactic Republic. Many of these individuals hailed from the planet Lundili, further deepening the scandal. The press conference Damon called for this purpose became a feeding frenzy for reporters from across the galaxy. Recording drones buzzed in every direction, capturing the explosive revelations that Damon laid bare for the world to see. Meanwhile, Jedi Knight Jing Fang found himself cursing the speed limit as he piloted a suspension vehicle at its maximum capability, frustrated by its sluggish pace. "This car is crawling like a snail," he exclaimed, slamming his hand against the steering wheel in irritation. Jax Powan, who was with him, observed, "Damon planned this escape meticulously. He's put considerable distance between us." Master Plo Kong, also present, established a communication link with Master Yoda, briefing him on the situation and the emergence of the Dead Angel. Master Yoda, despite his recent exertions in the mortal sector, insisted on dealing with the matter personally, recognizing the grave threat posed by the Dead Angel to the Galactic Republic. As they discussed their strategy, news of Damon's press conference reached them. The mayor was now openly accusing others of betraying the Rendili Interstellar Power Company to the Galactic Republic, causing widespread panic and chaos on Lundili. Jing Fang and his companions realized the gravity of the situation. Damon's actions were not just a desperate bid for survival, they were a calculated move to incite sentiment against the Galactic Republic across Rendili, possibly as part of a larger conspiracy. "We must act now, Master Yoda," urged Plo Kong. Master Yoda, understanding the urgency, agreed, "Proceed with caution. The power of the dark side, the Dead Angel wields. Let's go now, I will." Jing Fang, driven by a sense of duty and a personal vendetta against the Dead Angel, who was once his supreme leader, vowed to reverse the dire situation. "As a Jedi Knight, I have the responsibility to save Dawnstar from this war. Too many have died already. Whether it's the Dead Angel or Tang Xiao, justice must be served." In the name of peace, Jax Powan's conviction was palpable. His assertion that the chaos on the planet Rendili was nearing a critical point seemed more credible by the minute. The situation escalated when some individuals, previously accused by Mayor Damon of illicit activities, publicly confessed. Shockingly, their admissions did not exonerate Mayor Damon, but instead confirmed his accusations. One of them boldly declared, "Mayor Damon is correct. I am guilty. I colluded with commercial spies from the Galactic Republic's Ministry of Commerce and assisted them in infiltrating the Rendili Interstellar Power Company." Jax Powan, watching the unfolding drama on a projection screen from his suspension car, could hardly contain his desperation. "No, no, no, they must be stopped! This must not continue!" he exclaimed, as if trying to reach through the projection to halt the confessions. Plo Kong, his face obscured by a mask, echoed the sentiment with palpable fury. "This cannot be allowed to escalate further. We must mobilize all intelligence agents on Lundili immediately, use every means necessary to prevent these revelations from spreading." Meanwhile, in Coruscant, the Republic's capital, Armand Assad, the Minister of Intelligence, was equally incensed. The situation had deteriorated unexpectedly. The sudden change in narrative caught everyone off guard, including the Republic's Ministry of Intelligence. They had initially believed that the activities were merely efforts by the Rendili Interstellar Power Company to reclaim control over the planet, a planet that had been gradually influenced by the Galactic Republic but originally belonged to them. Using methods like human cloning or brainwashing to regain control seemed within the realm of possibility to them. However, they had grossly underestimated the lengths to which Tang Xiao, known as Death Angel, and Darth Masa Yiner would go. The extent of the darkness and madness driving their actions was beyond comprehension. Furthermore, the desperation of the Ulan family, led by Bangira Ulan, who faced the loss of their 25,000-year-old legacy, was unimaginable. They were willing to risk the lives of Rendili's 600 billion inhabitants in a perilous gamble for control. This book's unfolding events serve as a reminder of the stakes involved in the battle for Rendili, highlighting the intricate web of alliances and betrayals that span across the galaxy. The suspension car hurtled into the press conference venue of Mayor Damon Lopez like a bullet. As the car's safety system forcibly brought it to a halt, a sword light flashed, slicing through the roof. 3 figures leaped out. Damon Lopez, you are suspected of inciting the public and endangering public safety. You are under arrest, Pulo Kong shouted. However, Mayor Damon showed no signs of fleeing. Instead, he pointed towards Pulo Kong and declared loudly, "Look, the Jedi Knights have come to arrest me because I spoke the truth, because I exposed the dirty, secret dealings of the Milky Way Republic. Come on, Jedi, arrest me. I am not afraid." As he spoke, he raised his hands high, crossing them as if ready to be handcuffed. The reporters couldn't miss such a dramatic moment. They rushed to capture the scene, with some even daring to approach the Jedi Knights for an immediate interview. Pulo Kong and the other 2 Jedi sheathed their lightsabers and made their way through the crowd towards Mayor Damon. Suddenly, a blue sword light flashed. A man wielding a lightsaber stood before them. To the onlookers, he appeared to be just another bodyguard, albeit with a somewhat dull expression. However, to Pulo Kong and his companions, the man's true identity was clear, despite the weak disguise he wore. "Governor, Tang Xiao, are you really the Dead Angel?" Jingfang asked, his voice filled with tension. "Why deny it?" "Yes, I am the Dead Angel, Tang Xiao," Darth Messiah replied with a sneer. "As the governor of Dawn Star, I order you to assist Mayor Damon in escaping." Jingfang appeared conflicted, but ultimately resolved, sheathing his lightsaber and walking towards Darth Messiah. "That's right. This is your duty and obligation as a citizen of Planet Dawn. The advancement of our civilization in this galaxy is a responsibility we all share," Darth Messiah proclaimed, his expression growing more smug. "Jingfang, you traitor!" Jax Poan exclaimed. "I obey." "My governor," Jingfang stated, now standing beside Darth Messiah. But in a swift move, he unsheathed his lightsaber and thrust it towards Darth Messiah's chest. Simultaneously, Jax Poan and Pulo Kong launched an attack from either side, their lightsabers aiming for Darth Messiah in a coordinated strike. Darth Messiah, having anticipated their move, parried their attacks with his blue lightsaber and quickly retreated. "If I had the villain's IQ from the Clone Wars series, I might have been caught by now. Not bad at all," he mocked. "You are the main reason Dawn Star is engulfed in war. You had countless opportunities to prevent it, yet you chose this path for your own ambition. You must face justice." Jingfang declared, launching a fierce attack on Darth Messiah. Jingfang's swordsmanship was based on the 6th form, Nieman, a comprehensive style that claimed to integrate the strengths and weaknesses of the first 5 forms. It was favored by many Jedi Knights not specialized in combat due to its versatility and lack of obvious weaknesses. This form of swordsmanship, therefore, is often humorously referred to as diplomatic swordsmanship by some. However, in Jingfang's hands, the 6th form transformed into a display of mastery. His movements, deceptively slow yet swift, combined the impenetrable defense of the 3rd form with the lethal offense reminiscent of a venomous snake, akin to the 2nd form. Jax Poan and Pulo Kong flanked him, their coordinated assault a testament to their trust and respect for Jingfang's strategic choice. The narrow confines and the crowded surroundings limited their full potential, yet they adapted seamlessly. Under their relentless assault, Darth Messiah quickly found himself outmatched. His clumsy attempts to parry with his lightsaber faltered, signaling his imminent defeat. In a moment of desperation, he accused Jing Fang, "You traitor! You've turned your back on Star Dawn, your nurturer." The Luna sisters would never condone such betrayal. "You are mistaken, Mr. Governor. Sister Dream's devotion to the light surpasses Ebb and mine," Jing Fang retorted sharply. Seizing a moment of vulnerability in Darth Messianel's defense, Jing Fang unleashed a powerful force wave, propelling himself forward. His green lightsaber sliced through the air, aiming for his opponent's neck. Suddenly, Master Pulo Kong sensed danger. He lunged forward, pulling Jing Fang back while simultaneously raising a force barrier with his lightsaber to intercept the attack. A sharp pain pierced his chest, causing him to groan and collapse to his knees. This diversion allowed Darth Messianel to escape the fray. As he retreated, he seized a microphone from a reporter, proclaiming, "I was once a Jedi Knight. I cannot condone the actions taken against Lundili. The Galactic Republic is the primary instigator of this war, with the Jedi Order as its accomplice." With those final words, he discarded the microphone, leaped into a waiting hover vehicle, and vanished into the sky at breakneck speed. Meanwhile, Mayor Daman, left behind in the chaos, showed no fear. He boldly addressed the Jedi Knights. "Come then, I will not resist. Arrest me." As Mayor Daman's arrest unfolded, a wave of turmoil swept across Lundili. His actions seemed to ignite a rebellion among the planet's officials. One by one they came forward, openly confessing their illicit activities and condemning the Galactic Republic. Truth and falsehoods intertwined as they accused one another, each admission followed by further incriminating revelations. What emerged was a shocking narrative. The plight of Lundili was laid squarely at the feet of the Galactic Republic. This cascade of confessions and accusations painted a damning picture of corruption and manipulation, stirring unrest and outrage across the planet. Remember, the unfolding drama on Lundili serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay of power, loyalty, and betrayal within the galaxy. Vol 2, Chapter 1262, Military Government. The situation on the planet Lundili was beyond control. Despite the Galactic Republic's intelligence department deploying a vast number of operatives, chaos continued to spread unchecked. The focus of their investigation had been Daman Lopez, the mayor of Horgan, the capital city. His unusual behavior had drawn attention, making him the first among several high-ranking officials to exhibit suspicious activities. Consequently, a significant portion of intelligence resources was dedicated to scrutinizing him, leading to some discoveries, but also significant losses among the operatives. The discovery of problematic substances in Daman Lopez's excrement was a result of this extensive investigation. However, this focus on Lopez meant that when other officials across the planet began acting erratically, there were not enough intelligence personnel to monitor them effectively. This oversight was compounded by the presence of bounty hunters, assassins, and agents from the Fourth Civilization's military intelligence who had been hired by the Ulan family. These elements took advantage of the chaos, often silencing spectators and operatives alike with deadly efficiency. Despite the turmoil, it was clear that causing complete disorder on a planet with a population of 600 billion was an impossible task. The actions of the corrupt officials and their followers, while significant, were only the tip of the iceberg. The real impact of their self-exposure was not the immediate chaos, but the shift in public opinion it caused. The revelation of corruption between these officials and the Galactic Republic shattered the latter's image among the people of Rendili. Rendili, once a galactic industrial powerhouse, had been in decline, a situation exacerbated by the ongoing war and surpassed by Kuat in terms of industrial output. The blame for the economic downturn had previously been placed on the corruption and incompetence of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, led by the Ulan family. However, the public's frustration needed a more tangible target. Darth Messianel seized this opportunity to manipulate public opinion. By exposing the replaced officials and their corrupt dealings with the Galactic Republic, he redirected the people's anger towards the Republic itself. The citizens of Lundili, feeling betrayed, erupted in outrage. But the exposure of these officials served a dual purpose. Beyond swaying public opinion, it also acted as a filter. As Darth Messianel had indicated, the Rendili Interstellar Power Company and its affiliates could not be trusted. Their ties to the planet's economy and their vested interests in its companies and investments made them unreliable. This move was not just about revealing corruption, it was about identifying those whose loyalties could not be secured, setting the stage for a deeper, more insidious plan to unfold. In a strategic move that could only be described as bold and decisive, the Lundili Interstellar Power Company, under the leadership of Bangira Ulan, took a stand that would forever alter the political landscape of their planet and potentially the entire galaxy. The company, with its 25,000-year legacy, had found itself at a crossroads, facing covert manipulations by the Galactic Republic aimed at undermining its sovereignty and economic stability. The Republic, led by Speaker Schiff Palpatine, was accused of orchestrating a multifaceted scheme to destabilize Lundili, seize control of its resources, and eliminate any opposition within the galaxy. Bangira Ulan's speech, broadcast live across all media platforms on the planet and picked up by outlets throughout the Galactic Republic, was a masterstroke in public relations. He laid bare the Republic's machinations, directly implicating Speaker Palpatine in a plot to militarize the Republic and consolidate power under his rule. Ulan's accusations were not just words, they were a call to arms, a declaration of independence from the Republic, and a vow that the Lundili Interstellar Power Company, alongside the planet Lundili, would stand firm in their neutrality and resist any attempts at subjugation. The response to Ulan's speech was immediate and widespread. The Ulan family, leveraging their extensive influence and resources, mobilized the planet's security forces. Military and police units were deployed across Lundili, enforcing a 3-day lockdown to ensure stability and control. Educational institutions were turned into centers of indoctrination, where students were made to study Ulan's speech, absorbing the company's stance and understanding the gravity of the situation. The media landscape was saturated with Ulan's message, with every channel rebroadcasting the speech and a deluge of editorials, commentaries, and press releases flooding the public sphere, all echoing the company's resolve. In the digital realm, the company exerted strict control over information, filtering online discussions and deploying an army of public relations firms and internet trolls to dominate the narrative. This comprehensive strategy effectively quelled dissenting voices, at least temporarily, as the populace grappled with the reality of their planet's newfound stance against the Galactic Republic. The Lundili Interstellar Power Company's actions were not just a demonstration of power, but a testament to its deep-rooted influence across all sectors of Lundili society. For over 25 millennia, the company had woven itself into the fabric of the planet, becoming indispensable to its economic and social well-being. This interconnectedness made the company's decision to sever ties with the Galactic Republic a move of unprecedented magnitude, one that could potentially have far-reaching consequences for Lundili's economy and its people. Yet, despite the potential for economic fallout, the resolve of the Lundili Interstellar Power Company and its leaders was clear. They were prepared to weather any storm, defend their autonomy, and chart a new course for Lundili, free from the manipulations and control of the Galactic Republic. This bold stance against a backdrop of galactic politics and intrigue marked a pivotal moment in the history of Lundili, setting the stage for a future where the planet would navigate the stars on its own terms. On the planet Rendili, a significant shift occurred that seemed inevitable. Surviving this period was crucial, as it would open up opportunities for recovery. Bangira Ulan initiated a pivotal move by announcing the establishment of a temporary military government on Rendili. He secured alliances with various mercenary organizations on the planet, merging them with the existing security forces. A substantial cache of weapons was distributed, leading to the formal creation of the Rendili Planet Defense Force, marking the planet's first official army. Following the army's formation, soldiers, still clad in their previous security police uniforms, launched assaults on the administrative centers of the planet's major cities. These attacks sparked fierce battles across numerous locations, with many city administrative centers declaring their allegiance, including those governed by high-ranking officials who had been replaced. These cities set a precedent, prompting neutral parties and those on the fence to align themselves with the emerging power. Leveraging the support from these cities, Bangira Ulan began to establish a new government under military control, incorporating high-ranking officials with questionable pasts. These officials acknowledged their deep-seated wrongdoings, but emphasized the necessity of their involvement to help the planet navigate through its current crisis. They vowed that once stability was restored, the military government would dissolve, and they would face accountability for their actions. Their participation lent a semblance of stability to the military government established by Bangira Ulan, transforming the landscape of Rendili almost overnight. Immediately report the situation on Rendili to the Speaker and the Supreme Strategic Command. Send a message to Jesse Dallin, commander of the Rendili Defense Fleet, instructing him to secure the planet immediately. Armand al-Assad, the Republic's Minister of Intelligence, ordered upon receiving the news. The rapid developments caught Armand off guard, especially considering the recent peculiar behavior of certain senior officials. The transformation of Rendili's political landscape was unforeseen. Bangira Ulan, who gave you such audacity? Armand muttered angrily into the void. Mr. Minister, Captain Jesse Dallin has responded that he will not mobilize the planetary defense fleet without a direct order from the Speaker of the Galactic Republic, an intelligence agent reported. Fool! Armand exclaimed, slamming his fist on the table. However, he quickly regained his composure and strategized. Let the defense fleet remain stationary for now, but ensure that Dallin maintains control over it. Do we still have loyal personnel within the planetary defense fleet? Yes, there are several, the agent replied. Have them prepare emergency plans. If necessary, we'll take control of the fleet by detaining Jesse Dallin, Armand instructed. Understood, the agent affirmed. Armand paused, his expression turning into a frown. Have we received any response from the Supreme Strategic Command or the Speaker? The Supreme Strategic Command is currently in a meeting, and there's been no word from the Speaker, the agent answered. However, I've received information from the Jedi Order that Master Yoda intends to visit Rendili personally. Master Yoda? Going himself? Armand's concern deepened, sensing that there were layers to the situation he was yet to uncover. Meanwhile, in the outer orbit of Rendili, aboard the berth of the planet's defense fleet, a sinister communication unfolded. My directive to you is singular. Secure control over the Rendili planet defense fleet, came the distorted voice of Darth Sidious. Arden Lin leaned against a cargo box in the dimly lit warehouse, her mechanical right arm raised. The communicator, seamlessly integrated into her prosthetic, made communication effortlessly convenient. She fixed her gaze on the holographic projection of Darth Sidious, who was enshrouded in shadows, and spoke with a frosty tone. You make it sound so simple. Tell me, how am I supposed to take control of this fleet? The key figures, who could have been persuaded, were killed in the last uprising. Bangira Ulan's bold move to declare a military government must be backed by solid confidence. He wouldn't dare take such a step without assurance of controlling the planetary defense fleet. Now your task is to uncover his intentions with the fleet. Darth Sidious's voice was laced with irritation. And how do you expect me to uncover information that even you don't have? Arden Lin retorted sharply. To me, this is an alien world, a different era, and you think it's appropriate to summon me with such urgency? Do not forget, I am the only one who can bring your husband Sindor back to life. This was our agreement. If you allow Lundili interstellar dynamics to secede from the Republic, you can forget about ever seeing him again. Darth Sidious's threat was palpable. Arden Lin shot a look of disdain at the projection, but eventually conceded. Fine, I'll keep an eye on Captain Jesse Darling, but I suggest you deploy your fleet directly. That is not your concern, Darth Sidious curtly replied before ending the communication. With a disgusted spit, Arden Lin deactivated her arm communicator, casually grabbed a military cap and placed it on her head. Disguised as a mechanic, she navigated through the battleship towards the hangar platform. Her mission was to pilot a shuttle to the flagship of the planetary defense fleet under the guise of conducting maintenance. Intelligence operatives from the Republic were already in place on the flagship to assist her. However, just as she was about to embark on her mission, the battleship's corridor broadcast system blared to life. Attention! Captain Jesse Darling is making his move. Arden Lin's instinct Tease kicked in immediately. She knew she had to act fast. The stakes were high, not just for the mission, but for the chance to see her husband again. The game of espionage and power was about to take a new turn, and she was right in the center of it. Vol 2, Chapter 1263, Battle of Lundili, 1. In the bustling capital of Lundili planet, Jogan City, a tense scene unfolds within the confines of the Public Security Bureau. Jedi Master Pulo Kong, alongside Jedi Knight Jax Pawan and Jing Fang, forcefully escort Damon Lopez, the mayor of Jorgen City, into an interrogation room. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation and dread. Master Pulo Kong, with a grimace of discomfort, loosens his robe to reveal his chest, marred by countless patches of black pus exuding a stench reminiscent of death itself. Jing Fang, eyes wide with concern, rushes to his side. "Master Pulo, how are you feeling?" Jing Fang inquires, his voice laced with guilt. He knew that if it weren't for Master Pulo Kong's selfless act of taking a hit meant for him, he would have been the one suffering. The initial pain was unbearable, but now I feel nothing in that area, Master Pulo Kong responds, his voice steady despite his condition. The dead angel we faced is unlike any foe we've encountered. His force felt abnormal, different from the start. Jax Pawn, his brow furrowed in thought, adds, "Indeed, if he truly was an angel of death, our combined strength should have been sufficient to suppress him. Yet he has claimed the lives of many, including formidable masters like Ekonkola and Adigalia. Even my master, Evan Peel, fell to him." His voice trails off, a mix of sorrow and anger evident in his tone. Master Pulo Kong, struggling to maintain his composure, reveals, "His strength and swordsmanship may be lacking, but his manipulation of the original force is peculiar. Even when I erected a barrier of force around me, it proved ineffective. The energy struck me directly." Suddenly, his strength falters, and he nearly collapses, only to steady himself against a table. Jing Fang, acting swiftly, assists him to a nearby chair. "I need some Bacta liquid to counteract this erosion," Master Pulo Kong states, his voice weak but determined. "Understood. I'll arrange for immediate transport to the nearest hospital. They have Bacta tanks, and it's a secure location with trustworthy personnel," an intelligence officer of the Republic assures him. Amidst the tension, Damon Lopez, with a grotesque laugh, taunts, "Ah, it's futile. You're all doomed to die here." Jax Pawan, fueled by anger, grabs Damon by the collar, demanding, "Tell us, what is the dead angel planning?" Damon, unfazed and mocking, retorts, "Ah, so you call him the Death Angel? Interesting. But do you really think you can intimidate me?" Jing Fang, unable to contain his fury, uses the force to knock Damon to the ground. "Don't you see the chaos the Angel of Death has unleashed upon this planet? Thousands will perish because of it." "And why should that concern me?" Damon replies, his indifference infuriating Jing Fang further. Master Pulo Kong, attempting a different approach, waves his hand before Damon's eyes, hoping to compel the truth. "Did the dead angel replace you with clones?" he probes, using the force to influence Damon's will. However, Damon's sudden scream of pain reveals a sinister truth. A dark force implanted in his brain shields him from Jedi influence. Master Pulo Kong realizes the gravity of their situation. The dead angel has imbued him with a dark side force that not only protects him from our influence, but threatens to destroy his mind if we push further. Jing Fang, addressing Damon with scorn, exclaims, "See, this is the master you serve. This is how little he values you." Damon, defiant to the end, smirks, "I consider it wisdom." Master Pulo Kong, recognizing the futility of further interrogation, decides, "Let's not waste more time here. The intelligence department will handle him." Clutching his chest, he signals the end of the interrogation, but the battle against the dark forces threatening Lundili is far from over. In the midst of the chaos engulfing the planet Lundili, Jing Fang stood resolute, his determination unwavering. "The situation on Lundili is indeed dire, but we still hold the ace up our sleeve, the planetary defense fleet and the orbital defense system," he declared confidently. Master Pulo Kong, clutching his chest, nodded in agreement, but was visibly weakened. "Master Pulo Kong, you must seek medical attention immediately. Leave the defense to me. I'll head to the planetary defense fleet without delay," Jing Fang insisted, ready to take charge. An intelligence officer briefed them. The orbital defense system of Lundili comprises 3 key components: planetary shields, heavily armed space stations, and ground-based anti-orbital weapon bases. Together with the planetary defense fleet, these defenses can withstand attacks up to 10 times our current force. Thankfully, they remain under our control. Then it's imperative that we reinforce our hold on these strategic assets. If the Separatists manage to seize control of the orbital defense system, reclaiming Lundili will become a near-impossible task for the Republic, Puluokong emphasized, understanding the gravity of the situation. Understood, came the unified response. Pawan, you must depart at once. Find the dead angel. With your abilities, he cannot hide. Keeping him in our sights will ensure we're always one step ahead, Puluokong instructed Jax Pawan, who nodded in agreement. Jingfang, eager to contribute more, said, Master Puluo, allow me to pursue the dead angel myself. Puluokong, however, expressed his concerns. It's not a matter of trust, Jingfang. The dead angel is cunning, and your straightforward nature might leave you vulnerable to his deceptions. Your immediate priority should be the planetary defense fleet. I fear he may have plans there. Understood, Master Puluo, Jingfang replied, accepting his role. Suddenly, an intelligence officer received an urgent message, his face turning pale. General, the puppet government of the Ulan family is mobilizing forces to assault the planetary shield control center. We cannot let them succeed. If they manage to activate the planetary shield, Lundili will be isolated, leaving the Separatists free to enact their will, Puluokong declared, rising to take action despite his injuries. Master Puluo, you need to be treated for your injuries. Jingfang protested. Bring me some Bacta liquid. I can begin treatment in the vehicle and counteract the dead angel's corrupting influence. We have no time to waste, Puluokong insisted, determined to continue the fight. Meanwhile, at the planetary shield control center of Lundili, a pyramid-shaped metal fortress became the focal point of a fierce battle. Over 5,000 soldiers of the Rendili Defense Force, previously the planet's security personnel, but now turned rebels, launched an aggressive assault. Armed with blaster rifles, they advanced with a ferocious battle cry, determined to overwhelm the 600 loyal security personnel defending the control center. The Lundili Interstellar Power Company, having deep ties with the planet's law enforcement, played a pivotal role in this insurrection. Darth Messiah's influence had infiltrated the Planetary Public Security Bureau, allowing the Ulan family's rebellion to gain momentum swiftly. With the director of the Public Security Bureau under their control, and with the complicity of corrupted officials, the company swiftly commandeered the majority of the planet's police and security forces. These forces, numbering over 70 million, were quickly reorganized into the nascent Lundili Planetary Defense Force. They mobilized to seize control of key strategic locations, particularly the orbital defense system, which remained beyond the reach of the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, not for lack of desire, but due to the steadfast resistance of the Galactic Republic's loyalists. The Republic had a decree that prohibited any single company, such as the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, from monopolizing the defense forces of a planet. To maintain a semblance of neutrality and avoid direct suspicion, the Republic orchestrated control through an independent third party. However, Speaker Schiff Palpatine of the Republic had foreseen the potential betrayal by the Rendili Interstellar Power Company. Under his covert directives, the Republic's intelligence department began infiltrating key departments within the orbital defense system. Consequently, control slipped away from the Ulan family, leading to a staunch resistance mounted by the infiltrated departments. The intelligence operatives and Republic loyalists utilized the architectural layout of the Planetary Shield Control Center to their advantage, engaging in fierce firefights against the attacking defense forces. Lacking heavy weaponry, the defenders resorted to using portable individual shields, typically employed for law enforcement, as makeshift cover, advancing in a methodical manner. Meanwhile, the skies above were embroiled in a chaotic battle, with fighter jets and spaceships from both factions clashing fiercely. The control of spaceports was evenly contested, with the Republic boasting a larger fleet of fighter jets, while the Rendili Interstellar Power Company repurposed cargo spacecraft for combat, arming them heavily to compensate for their lack of maneuverability. The turmoil extended to the ground, where anti-orbital weapon bases became battlegrounds. Rendili, the planet in question, housed 147 such bases, equipped with formidable land-based weaponry capable of repelling any space fleet threatening the planet. These bases, now under siege by the Rendili Star Power Company's forces, could have been easily defended by the Planetary Defense Fleet, the most powerful military presence in the vicinity. Despite the planetary shield remaining secure and the fleet's capability to engage in atmospheric combat, the defense fleet remained inexplicably inactive. Appeals from the Galactic Republic's highest echelons, including the Supreme Strategic Command, the Galactic Council, and the Republic's Intelligence Department, went unanswered, leaving the fleet's allegiance and intentions in question. Amidst this backdrop of uncertainty, Arden Lin found himself aboard one of the Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers, enveloped in an eerie silence. Since declaring a state of first-level combat readiness, the battleship had ceased all communication, effectively isolating itself with an internal signal jammer, a common wartime measure to prevent espionage. The sounds of distant commotion hinted at unrest within the battleship, yet no clear directives were issued. Determined not to be hindered by the lack of communication, Arden Lin decided to take swift action, navigating through the tense atmosphere of the battleship with a sense of urgency. Arden Lin quickened her pace, heading towards the hangar. Time was of the essence. She couldn't afford to linger on this battleship any longer. Her destination was the flagship, where Fleet Commander Captain Jesse Darling's situation had taken a concerning turn. She needed to verify the circumstances firsthand. As she navigated the battleship's narrow corridors, a sudden blockade by a group of soldiers halted her progress. Arden Lin's brow furrowed in confusion. The soldiers' shoulder tags revealed they hailed from various departments: the engine group, the fire control group, and the firefighting group. It was unusual for such a mixed assembly to confront her. Sensing something amiss, Arden Lin heightened her alertness. The group's leader, wearing a grim expression, demanded, "Republic or Lundili?" Puzzled by the question, Arden Lin responded, "What did you say?" Growing impatient, the leader pressed, "I asked you, Republic or Rendili." "None of your business," Arden Lin retorted, her fists clenched in anticipation. Without further dialogue, the soldiers, armed with electric shock devices, charged at her. The leader, supporting the formation, brandished a blaster pistol, a weapon not standard issue for their ranks, indicating it was smuggled aboard. However, Arden Lin faced the onslaught with a slight smirk. Without assuming any defensive stance, she skillfully maneuvered through the narrow corridor, now crowded with her assailants. In a matter of seconds, the sounds of muffled impacts echoed through the corridor. The dozen attackers lay on the ground, not visibly wounded, but bleeding profusely from their orifices, lifeless. "Indeed, the seeds of separatism have sprouted anew," Arden Lin muttered to herself. "The last uprising failed to eradicate them completely. They've begun to stir once again." With renewed urgency, Arden Lin hastened her steps towards the hangar, determined to reach the flagship and confront the unfolding situation with Fleet Commander Captain Jesse Darling. The encounter served as a grim reminder of the persistent threats lurking within, driven by divisive loyalties and hidden agendas. Vol 2, Chapter 1264, The Governor's Wedding, Conclusion. Arden Lin fought her way out, discovering a group of insurgents attempting to seize control of the battleship. It appeared they had succeeded. Many crew members were either killed, imprisoned, or coerced into joining the mutineers. As Arden Lin moved stealthily, she observed that the soldiers had just stormed the bridge, indicating that the insurgents had infiltrated key positions. This realization led her to believe that the current uprising was far more severe than the previous one orchestrated by Bangira Ulan himself. Previously, Bangira Ulan's riot was primarily aimed at eliminating commanders who were likely to support the Galactic Republic. Arden Lin had cunningly isolated and eliminated several commanders sympathetic to the communist cause. However, the current situation was starkly different. The scale of the rebellion, the number of warships involved, and the meticulous planning far surpassed the previous incident. Despite seizing control of the battleship, the insurgents made no further moves, maintaining radio silence and keeping the ship docked. This strategy obscured the fleet's condition, preventing any preemptive response. By the time the fleet mobilized, it would be too late. Arden Lin hurried to the hangar platform, effortlessly dispatching any soldiers she encountered. However, upon reaching the hangar, she found the heavy hatch sealed shut. Without hesitation, she headed to the control room, knowing that a mechanical override existed for emergency situations. After eliminating the guards, she was about to open the hatch when she hesitated. If this battleship's hangar could be sealed, the same could be true for the flagship Messer cable. Even if she commandeered a fighter jet, she might still be denied entry. With this realization, her resolve wavered, and she looked towards the bridge, contemplating her next move. You are here to express your vows, promising that no legal, moral, or religious constraints will impede your union. You love each other and commit to spend your lives together, upholding this promise. Under the witness of the Force, Tang Xiao and Adele Ulan solemnly pledge their love and trust to one another. Mr. Tang Xiao, Miss Adele Ulan, in the name of the Force, I bless your union. You will hold hands, embrace, support each other, and share a lifetime together. No matter the circumstances, nothing will part you. On the war-ravaged planet of Lundili, within the opulent Ulan family manor, a young and elegant couple stood at the heart of the auditorium, hand in hand, receiving the well wishes of the esteemed guests. Tang Xiao, the governor of Dawn Star and supreme leader of the Fourth Civilization, had been in this world for 15 years and was 37 years old. Adele Ulan, the seventh daughter of the Ulan family and the primary heir to the Lundili Interstellar Power Company, was 18. Despite the 19-year age gap and the absence of love between them, the two were united in a marriage of convenience in a grand yet hastily arranged ceremony. The wedding was attended by only a few hundred guests, underscoring the political and strategic nature of the union rather than a celebration of love. The wedding was a modest affair, attended primarily by members of the Ulan family. However, due to the ongoing war on the planet, many relatives, distant in both relation and geography, were unable to attend. It was a ceremony witnessed by few and blessed by even fewer, a marriage that seemed destined for tragedy from the start. Tang Xiao maintained a composed smile throughout. He had always said that Adele Ulan could only ever truly know Tang Xiao as a facade. To him, the name Tang Xiao was merely a societal mask, whereas Darth Malthel was the name that resonated with his true essence, a name known in the enigmatic currents of the Force. His objective was clear: to use Adele Ulan's identity to align the Rendili Interstellar Power Company with the interests of the Fourth Civilization. Adele Ulan's role, as grim as it was to offer herself in sacrifice so that Tang Xiao could ascend as the guardian of Lundili. As the ceremony concluded, the applause from the guests was sparse. Tang Xiao, with a commanding presence, drew Adele into his embrace, her slender waist encircled by his arms, strong as steel. She was held tightly against him, rendered immobile. He then lifted her chin gently, gazing into her eyes filled with fear, and kissed her. The kiss was direct, leaving Adele to respond mechanically, her body trembling slightly. When they parted, Adele seemed lost, her mind a whirl of confusion. She had been prepared with words by her grandfather, Benjila Ulan, but standing there, she found herself speechless, overwhelmed by the moment. Just a month prior, she had been the carefree princess of the Ulan family, living a life of luxury and ease. Now, suddenly, she was shouldering a heavy burden, betrothed to a man nearly twice her age, a stranger from the outer ring, considered by many to be a barbaric place. Despite her initial resolve to support her family through their troubles, the reality of her situation hit her hard when she found herself in the arms of this unfamiliar man. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she fought to keep them at bay, reminding herself to be strong. Do your duty, play your role, and you will achieve what you desire. The Ulan family is no exception, Tang Xiao whispered, his words offering a cold comfort. Unable to hold back any longer, Adele's tears flowed freely as she buried her face in Tang Xiao's embrace. Go and rest now. I have other matters to attend to. There's someone at the planetary defense fleet I need to deal with, Tang Xiao said, his voice distant. Soon after, Adele felt herself being gently pushed away from the warmth of his embrace, the cold reality enveloping her once more. As the guests began to disperse, Adele stood alone, lost in the enormity of what had just transpired. Some approached her with words of comfort or curiosity, but she barely registered their presence. It was as if her grandfather had tried to speak to her, but his words were lost to her, drowned out by the shock of her new reality. Is this what the adult world is like? She wondered, the weight of her new title, responsibilities, and the uncertain future pressing down on her.